Welcome to Roundtable Live for May 19th, 2017. I'm BaerTaffy, joined by MathasGames, RockLeeSmile, Northernlion, and is that a little Tomo down there? Making an appearance. There he is.
He doesn't want to be on camera very often, so it's very convenient that he's chosen this exact time and position.
We have been blessed with the Tomo.
And now he got his butt.
Yeah.
Is this one of those, you've been blessed with Tomo, retweet,
Yeah.
to have a buddy for 100
That thing
years?
blew up, man. I won the bet. I feel good about that.
This Dan was like 400 retweets.
Oh, no, no confidence.
That's not a 400 retweet tweet.
It's got
Come
a
on.
cat in it. It's got shareability
It's
built
got a
in.
call to action. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
You
good.
got all the pieces of the puzzle, man. You figured it out. Well done. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Sorry for missing last week. Apologize for that. Ryan and I were locked away trying to solve the elaborate contraptions of the Kraken.
Yes, that's correct.
That was crazy.
They're not kidding either. They really were
that's
locked away.
legitimate. Mm-hmm.
Is that the escape room thing you were talking
That's
about?
the escape room, yeah.
On Lost Initiative?
We escaped from almost all of it, but we were fooled by this stupid Yakuza puzzle where they gave us a bunch of song names, and then we had to accumulate the second letter of the band that sang all of the songs and rearrange it into the password.
Ooh.
Opened up the freaking Tesseract, inside of which was a 4-digit math problem, which led to the code that opened the door.
Straight up, that was like 20 puzzles deep too. That thing was. They told you mentioned this. They told us after the fact that it was a room designed for 12 people that we were approaching with 4. So natural disadvantage there. I was impressed, honestly. Like I was impressed with the complexity of some of the things. I was doing a military crawl at some point, man. I had to really get into
So it had like secret compartments in other areas?
Yeah,
Bear was
wow.
inside the wall a couple times.
Dang.
two separate occasions.
One of the ones I did it looked like a closet, and then when you got inside, it had a secret back wall, and then there's an entire other room inside
that's
of it.
awesome. That's so
And
cool.
then inside of that was a locked plexiglass room with a coffin in it. Like, that was awesome.
Release the Lich.
Yes.
That one cost an extra $15 because of the secrets.
That sounds fun. I would be like straight up way too stupid, but
No,
I don't
dude,
think
it's
no.
it's
They're
just
easier than
live-action battlegrounds.
Yeah. Just find the Scopy, man.
I wish we could do one like on the show. It's just they don't you can't broadcast them or it ruins the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm hesitant to even go so far as to divulge the little details we did today about it because we're ruining the secrets, man, of the Ninja Escape. Which, by the way, I do recommend that place if you're in the Seattle area. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, we got a show to do today. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a little while. First of all, throwing this on the top of the docket before Moobot even was aware of it, Destiny 2 got a lot of info dumped yesterday. We're going to be talking about that briefly here at the start of the show. Ubisoft doing Ubisoft things. Unsurprising news there to touch on a little bit. Square Enix and IO Interactive part ways. A little bit of sad news there for the Hitman developers. We'll talk about what that means for the future of that franchise and Square Enix as well. The Witcher is getting a Netflix series, which is kind of fucking sweet, honestly, if you ask me. Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea.
I'm fucking apathetic.
Yeah!
just like Geralt.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good point.
The Stream Deck, the Elgato Stream Deck. We talked about this as it was announced, but now we have a member of the crew that actually has experience with one hands-on, so we're going to be talking about that a little bit today, too. Then we're getting into the games. We got quite a few this week. We got Strafe. We got NBA Playgrounds. We got Tethered VR. That's Bear's VR Corner, the patented new segment here on Roundtable. Quake Champions. That's the beta, right? Currently, or making it right now.
Open closed beta, whatever that means.
Yeah. What does that mean, actually?
It means anyone can get a code, but they don't just give them out. You got to go get it yourself.
Okay. So they make you work for it, right? Another beta we'll be talking about briefly, Sundered as well. That's the new one from the makers of Yotun. And then the one that we're all loving for the last couple of weeks, it's Dead Cells. We'll talk about that at the tail end of the show. Getting back to the big stuff, though, from yesterday is Destiny 2. We heard quite a bit about the upcoming release. It's going to be slated for, I believe, September, right? Although the big news, of course, is that the PC release date will not be the same day, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, it was loaded up with like a bunch of great stuff. Everybody that's played it said the PC version looked miles better than the console. It's like uncapped frame rate, high resolution, all this stuff. And then they're like, oh, by the way, not right away. So I was like,
Did anybody else have this weird reaction where I read the headline? I was like, it's coming out on BattleNet. That's crazy. And then I remembered that Activision and Blizzard are the same company. And I was like, oh, it makes a ton of sense.
That was the exact train of thought I had. It took me about a minute and a half before I thought, you know what, that's what I should have expected in the first place.
They're publishing third-party games now? Excuse me?
It's like a real shot across the bow for Steam until I thought about it for 5 seconds.
Pretty much, yeah. No, yeah, so that's the other big scoop from yesterday as well, is that Destiny 2 will be available on Battle.net, or the Blizzard app, or whatever the fuck they're calling it these days. Honestly, who knows?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's called the Blizzard app, which is dumb. Just call it Battle.net.
They called it Battle.net during the fucking announcement. Like, the CEO of Blizzard called it Battle.net. I was like, what the fuck, man?
Force habit, right? I mean, they've been at it for like 25 years now.
Yeah, like, you go through that whole time like the whole endeavor of renaming the thing when Lord knows probably nobody asked for that, but I guess they're going back on it now. Not that that really means anything to anyone, but yeah, with Destiny 2, it's got a hype train, man. 400,000 live viewers for the announcement stream was pretty ridiculous.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The fact that it's hitting PC means I'll immediately at least try it and hope that it hooks me.
Yeah.
I hope it's, from what I know of Destiny 1, I hope it's more game-y than Destiny 1 is. I hope it's more open as well. I want a more open world as opposed to, just little segments that you go to.
What does more gamey mean in that context?
Yeah,
more of a story focus, I guess, because I hear Destiny's 1 story kind of just was like, gives a shit. You're just going to go and do it.
It's raids. It's like, here's a big, long corridor, and you get your friends together, and you blast Borderlands monsters.
I was gonna say, it just sounds like Borderlands, which I got sick of Borderlands after the first one, kind of the second one, so I don't really want a more serious take on Borderlands. I want something a little different.
I'm kind of with you there. I like the idea of making it more open. I think the addition of 4 more planets will certainly help that out. Like, if I recall correctly, Destiny originally only really had, I think, maybe only 4 or maybe 5 places that you could go total, like planets or even just like space structures that you could really access. So that'll probably open it up quite a bit. There was another feature I was actually really excited for, too, that they announced yesterday, the guided games, which was definitely something that I would have loved to have in Destiny 1, because I played most of Destiny 1 by myself, and that way I couldn't really access a lot of the endgame content, a lot of the really cool raids that you need to have a full squad of 6, I think it is, for. And with this, with the guided games plus the inclusion of now the new clan system built into Destiny 2, they're going to allow you to sort of like be Sherpa'd through those high-level quests. So, you can't really find 5 of your friends to do one of those late-level raids with. You can sort of queue up into this guided games matchmaking and be matched up with a few different teams who are looking for one more recruit to take into those lower-level or later-level areas, which is neat. I like that idea quite a bit.
It's like an actual MMO.
Something like that, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if you like queue as a class, or if you're thrown into like the general population. If you can queue and be like, I'm a ranger looking for a party, or like we're a party looking for a ranger, or something.
Yeah, and then it just becomes WoW at that point, I suppose. Yeah. Right, but yeah, I'm curious to see more of how the clans will actually be involved.
Kate,
hi, Kate.
Kate.
Oh shit!
Okay.
Well done.
Big pimpin'.
Well done. That's official, right? Once you get the T-shirt, that means it's real.
Does that mean you can be hired by any game studio now? That's what you need?
It's effectively worth nothing, to be honest with you. But it's at least an indicator of base competency in the software.
For those tuning in audio only, Ryan just got his certified Unity developer T-shirt in the post today, I guess.
That's for the dude. It's for the dude who thought I freaking made it up. Took a picture of somebody else's certification tag.
You flew all the way to Seattle just for
you flew, yeah.
Because you went on vacation and had to come up with an alibi.
Exactly.
That's why somebody else's.
What's your alibi when you go to Japan then?
If I don't leave, I'm gonna delete my YouTube channel. That's pretty much it.
You're gonna go insane. I understand.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Yeah. We don't need to talk about Destiny too much more now, but suffice to say.
I mean, let's go down the list. Kind of excited. Wish it came to PC at the same time that it came to consoles. I mean, I feel like I can almost see it happening already. Like, if it comes out on consoles in September and then it comes out on PC the next June, I'm going to find it pretty hard to care about it.
Yeah, me too. I'll be like,
well, I mean, then
right.
again, it could turn into another GTA 5 situation. I think this might be a big enough property to, you know, be able to stretch it out over that long of a period of time, especially a game like this that has that longevity just, you know, to begin with.
You're not wrong, but I kind of feel like the community will have left me behind at that point. Like, I'm going in with a huge disadvantage if not only did I barely play the first game, but like the second game has been out on another platform for like 8 months. But if it comes out soon enough, I don't know. This strikes me as one of those situations where I'm gonna, if I don't play it at launch, I'm gonna wait 8 years for it to be free and then be riddled with microtransactions, and then I'll play it.
Yeah.
Did we get a vibe on why it's delayed for PC? Is it so they can sort of give it that air of console exclusivity?
I'm sure there's money involved.
Yeah.
It does, yeah. I mean, I can't give you an honest reason for it.
Because we're bending over backwards to give consoles a reason to even exist at this point. So, like,
I mean, we are.
Yo, but Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the greatest game maybe Nintendo's ever made.
Isn't it just 8 better?
Yeah.
Well, it's 8 with, I think,
right.
a couple additional tracks, 200cc, and a couple new characters.
It's
And battle mode. It has battle mode now, too.
the most beautiful creation in video game history.
8 is just wonderful. It didn't really need
I
the
loved
deluxe
8 on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Like, I played the shit out of 8, so.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
bought it. I think I played it once.
Yo, it's really good.
it is
Poor
really good.
investment
Yeah.
on my part, to be honest.
Pretty terrific. We still play it. Anyway, there we go. Guess Destiny 2. We all the other part of the PC release is that they also have made the decision not to have dedicated servers again, which kind of sucks.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I imagine, again, that's probably a thing where, like, their architecture is so based on the idea of having P2P servers that it would be more trouble than it's worth. But it sucks because, like, you just watched For Honor get crapped on for the exact same thing like 3 months ago. I mean, that's not the only thing wrong with For Honor, obviously, but you know, that's one of the things that was most ridiculed about it. And then you're like, well, I guess you just choose to take that one on the chin.
Did you see the For Honor, not to go on a tangent, but the For Honor like tournament that just happened last week?
I did not.
Oh yeah.
It's hilarious. So what they did is they got like 4 pros and 4 streamers.
Okay.
And they didn't tell the streamers that there were going to be pros.
Oh.
And they
That's so good.
They put 2 pros and 2 streamers on 2 different teams.
Yeah.
And then the top 2 from each team would go to the finals. So what ended up happening was because it was like a promotion thing, the streamers got knocked out almost immediately, but they had to like tweet and host it. So they got like the audience of the streamers.
Oh man.
And then
That's so rude.
only had
So
pros
shady.
playing at the end.
So
It
shady,
was
man.
yeah, it was like the people I were talking to, they're like, they didn't fucking tell us. They didn't tell us the pros were coming. They just said it was a streamer thing. Like,
They should have done a double swap and made the pros have to play Disney Crossy Road at the very end.
There you go.
I don't know why they just didn't put the streamers and the pros on 2 separate teams. Sure, the pros would whoop them, but at least you're gonna have 2 streamers in the end. And 2
No,
pros
yeah,
at the
like
end.
that's the writing on the wall right there. Is very explicitly designed that way, right? Or at least
Yeah.
it certainly seems that like that.
It's so good. That when I heard, I laughed. So that was great.
That's really funny.
Hey, I hope I didn't go too hard on the skepticism on Destiny. I'm okay with it either way. I hate the whole thing like about how we've got to justify consoles now. That's all. But I'll play it. I like the first one a little bit. It was okay.
Yeah. Speaking of For Honor, though, I want to get that segue in there before we lost it. Ubisoft, straight up just being Ubisoft. Just guess, chat. 3 games coming up this year from Ubisoft. Straight up, just tell me what they are. You know.
3 games, you have 4 choices.
That's true, yeah. As an aside, while they're guessing, if this isn't just a rhetorical bit,
Yeah.
you see that the data, Damon Hetfield of, it's probably not how you pronounce either of his names, yeah, but from IGN tweeted that like the biggest selling game of 2017 so far is actually Ghost Recon
Wildlands.
What?
Yeah, and then
Why? Oh, God.
number 2,
They fooled them.
I think number 2 was For Honor. And then number
No
3
way.
was Breath of the Wild.
Oh my God.
Fuck. Bamboozled.
It's crazy.
Swindled.
Very strangely in a bubble vision of what the industry is, don't we?
Yeah, we really do.
I mean,
Man.
we were all still in the mindset where we could acknowledge that Call of Duty was still topping the charts every year, but now we're just not even. We don't have our fingers on anyone's pulse. Not the pulse of the nation. We don't got fingers on
we're
anything.
a bunch of corpses floating down the river at this
Yeah.
point.
I
We don't
mean,
know
I
shit.
can almost see For Honor. Like, I really hope For Honor gets a sequel that does it right, because I like the mechanics of For Honor, as I've said 1,000 times. The game that it was packaged with is just not good. But Ghost Recon Wildlands, that confuses me.
I remember
This is only in the U.S. as well. I should be
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
that's
just to make sure.
You know, I remember going back from the Wildlands event, being like, guys, this is a lot of fun. We should play this. And then I was met with the wall of cynicism from this lot here. Just
Well,
no
because
fun
very quickly,
whatsoever.
within an hour, I'm
Very
like, well,
good.
you're just
guy
going to
have-
do the same thing for the rest of the game.
got like a 70 Metascore or something. Like.
Yeah, no, I honestly, I won't even really argue for its quality anymore because you guys have made some valid points about it. But it is very surprising to hear that it's topping the charts. That's why.
It was gorgeous. I'll give
Yeah,
it
it's
that.
really pretty.
For what it's worth, like the number 7 best-selling game in the U.S. in 2017 is Grand Theft Auto 5. So
Well,
The game will always be.
What about
number 4 and
Minecraft?
5.
Horizon Zero Dawn and Mass Effect Andromeda.
Those don't surprise me. That makes sense.
And then, there's like NBA 2K17, MLB, which I assume is MLB The Show,
Yeah.
and November's Call of Duty. And Resident Evil 7, number 6.
Damn.
Hey, you
dude.
know,
That's
that's
good.
good.
I'm glad.
They did
Yeah,
a good
that-
job.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, I agree with you.
Neat. Well, anyway, if you haven't guessed already, Ubisoft announced Far Cry 5, The Crew 2, and Assassin's Creed something.
The
No,
thing is,
yeah.
like, rumor, it's going to be called Assassin's Creed. I'm not kidding. Assassin's Creed Origins.
Wait, I couldn't tell you if that game already exists or not.
I couldn't either. I really, like,
It might.
there's genuinely like a 40% chance that it already exists.
Well, no. Let's be fair. The Assassin's Creed prequels are called Assassin's Creed Chronicles,
Okay. Yeah,
not
you're
Assassin's
right.
Creed
You're right.
Origins. It's two completely different things.
There's like Brotherhood, Unity, and then like 3 other ones with single words that I can't.
Yeah, words.
Assassin's
That's
Creed
what I mean. Like, I
Origins.
can't tell you if it's real or.
Okay.
Oh,
Here's
Assassin's Creed
here's
Origin on Unity, powered up by Steam.
Here's the list of words that have followed colons in the Assassin's Creed series: Brotherhood, Revelations, Black Flag,
Unity.
Rogue, Unity, Syndicate, Liberation, Chronicles, Bloodlines, Discovery, Recollection, Pirates.
Recollection? I've never heard of that one.
What's Recollection? Is that a mobile one?
Oh, okay. Some of these are canceled, I guess. All right, so I shouldn't include
Oh,
a
well.
lot of these ones, but yeah, there's quite the list.
Remember this when we got excited over Game of Thrones getting like 5 announced potential spin-offs?
Yeah.
Just get in there,
Oh,
make
did it really? Got 5
Well,
spin-offs?
well, they're
thing is,
working
Holy
on them.
shit.
not like somewhere between 0 and 2 of
That's
them. will ever
HBO
actually
just being
exist,
like,
but
we can't lose the Game of Thrones money when the series
Yeah.
ends.
Yeah.
just like saturate the shit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then wait a year when the backlash hits, and then just sequelize them again.
All right, before we dig ourselves too deep into this hate hole,
Right.
what's up with Crew 2? Because that actually strikes me as not a move that I expected them to make.
Yeah,
That was
same.
On
the
that.
Crew was the car game with
That's-
towers.
Yeah,
It's the full country of the United States, except it's like shrunk down by like 95%.
Okay.
Game where you I still think of the fucking car game with towers is you're driving a car carefully up these metal steps on this big tower. You're just going from platform to platform.
Well, no, they made the Forza Horizons Hot Wheels crossover, which actually is kind of that.
Oh god.
And it actually looks pretty badass.
Yeah?
I would play that.
All right.
But what do you know about Crew?
I don't know much about the Crew 2. Honestly, they haven't really revealed a lot of details about either Far Cry 5 or the Crew 2. I know about the Crew. I got a physical version of the Crew, actually, if you can believe it.
wow.
Yeah, they
For
sent
the
me
Xbox One?
No, the PC. They sent me a
What?
PC
Whoa.
disc,
Shit.
if you can
Wow.
believe it.
They send you a disc, I'd be like, I can't. I don't actually have a CD drive.
I don't have one in my other computer. I've got one in the first one, but not in the second one. Yeah, that was, I didn't play much of the Crew, though, to be honest with you. I didn't really ever get into it. But I am also pretty much equally surprised by that announcement of the Crew 2. I didn't see that one coming at all. But
Bear and I are the original crew. If any of you have been following us long enough, you know that we have a history of driving or riding around entire land masses.
Yeah.
So the crew is basically the perfect game for us to do that again with.
Yeah, we probably should.
I'm hoping Crew 2 is awesome. We're going to drive.
Yeah, hopefully. That'd be dope. We should do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there we go. There's the Ubisoft news for you.
Hey, is it refreshing that me usually being pro-corporate, I'm actually like super cynical about this because how could we care?
Well, what's the spin-off for Far Cry? Maybe there's a new idea.
The thing with Far Cry is like I played 4 and I didn't play Primal.
You didn't play Primal?
No, but I played 3 and 4. Okay. I thought 4, I was like, this is good and it's got some okay ideas, but they gotta like really impress me with Far Cry 5.
Yeah, I remember saying on the podcast when 4 came out, I'm like, it's just 3 again. Yeah. And you guys like, well, it's still good.
I still disagree with that though. I do. I disagree with the notion that it's just 3.
It's cool, but I need more than like, you know, the Fire Festival gone wrong and then go around with your bow and arrow and then the villain is like really charismatic. Like that's Far Cry to me right now. Is like
haircut.
A bow and arrow and you can like drive and fly, and then the villain is charismatic.
And you had a wingsuit in the 4th one, right?
Mm-hmm. All we need is like just some bonkers ass new vehicle. That's it, because that's the final piece of the puzzle. You didn't include that in your listing, Ryan, but that is like
and like hunting things to make a wallet. But
what if they go? And I think I've even said this on a prior episode. But what if they go like the Saints Row route, and you go to hell, and it's like Far Cry in the spectral realm?
It's plausible. That could.
I would love that.
Do it.
Once you get to that point, though, there's no coming back. It's like when you get to Far Cry 6 after that, where are you going to go?
You can't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
what if it's Far Cry in like 3127?
See, that could be cool. Like a full-on blood dragon. Like,
yeah.
Well, then it can't be an island where you're in the wilderness, and Far Cry is all about being on an island in the wilderness.
And then at the end, you sit yourself in a machine, and then it puts you into Assassin's Creed.
It's Far Cry, but it's Star Wars. And
Far Wars.
You're in an X-Wing, and you have to hunt down Voss, because he's come back. He's undead. He's a zombie.
Okay. Oh, shit. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Snoke.
He's Snoke.
Snoke.
I like that word. I just like to repeat it.
Yeah, it's fun.
I like Far Cry. Even though it's really
like
lame, I still
like it. It's not a bad game at all. It's fun to play.
At the same time, I'd like Far Cry. It feels like it's been a while since there's been a Far Cry, but since 2012, there's been Far Cry 3, Blood Dragon, 4, and Primal.
Yeah.
That's 4 Far Cry games in 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like it hasn't been a while. It's been a while because I didn't play Primal, I think.
Then freaking Assassin's Creed. It's been like over a year since the last Assassin's Creed, but that still puts us at like 3.2 Assassin's Creeds per year since 2012.
And I'm honestly like certain that the only reason we didn't get an Assassin's Creed last year was because they know the customer base is burnt down on it for
Syndicate did
multiple
not
releases
sell well.
per year. Yeah, it's like, okay, we can't put out this many, so we have to dial it back, and now it's coming right back.
Now they've got 6 of them in the freaking warehouse ready to go.
No. I can measure when I bought my video card by what Assassin's Creed came out.
Oh, you're right. They do one for every generation.
It's like, how old is my video card? Well, I got Syndicate with it for free.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 2 years old, all right?
2015.
Yeah, I'm still doing all right.
I like that, Nick, the idea that they're just edging themselves with these Assassin's Creed releases, just waiting.
They're
Got
gonna
so
get
many
made one
for
way
you.
or the other. It's just whether or not they let them out.
Yeah. Oh boy.
We'll see. I'm skeptical as usual, but still interested in Far Cry as always.
Yeah, it's just like I'm 100% with you here, Ryan. Though, just because this headline reads like a fucking joke. It's like, of course they would announce that. Like, what else
it's like an Onion headline or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I just I can't get excited. Even if it came out and people were like, Far Cry 5 is a 9.9 out of 10. I just kind of like.
Well, it won't be.
I mean, but like, also, who cares? Like, you know, they need to. I mean, we're old and hipsters, and like, we don't necessarily feel the compulsion to buy the new Assassin's Creed for any reason, I guess. But like, announce a new IP or something.
What's the last one they did though? It's probably Steep,
For Honor,
right?
I guess,
or For Honor 2. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
For Honor is is a cool idea. I don't want them to announce a For Honor 2 like 3 months after the first one came out necessarily, but
oh god, that would be
and they're doing good stuff.
Here's
I understand Ubisoft has a problem as well because they're doing a great job supporting Rainbow Six Siege, but that's not something they can annualize now because they've like committed to the Rainbow Six Siege as a platform sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So they can't make, like
they have a problem. It's like they just can't stop drinking.
I honestly, my mind went the same way, Nick. Except it was like they just can't stop franchising.
Yeah,
where they're addicted to it, sequel after sequel.
And
yeah, you're right. You're right with the Rainbow Six thing. It's what are they going to do now? Rainbow Six,
and they're doing the same thing with For Honor. Like, this is season 2 of For Honor that's coming up. So it seems like which is great, and it's what we asked for.
They just introduced Romans and a whole set of new fighters. And
exactly. Just take the game, make it better, and treat it as if like it's something that you can grow sort of organically for a couple of years at the very least. But then what do? Because they don't have anything else. They can announce a new Splinter Cell, but like Blacklist was amazing and everybody hates it and you're all wrong. And then
I don't understand why everybody hates it. I liked it a lot.
So you get a gun.
Who even actually hates it here? Nobody.
In 2013.
We were just not as excited as you, but nobody hated it.
People wrote off Blacklist because there's like an assault rifle in it at one point.
I didn't even
this isn't my
Blacklist.
Splinters. Blacklist is so good, Bear.
It's just like people saying Absolution isn't my Hitman.
Right. But Absolution is not as good, and Blacklist is a masterpiece.
All right. That's where we want to leave the Ubisoft conversation, for sure.
Make Splinter Cell Blacklist 2. But, like, call it...
Whitelist.
Yeah.
Call it Whitelist.
Whoa, okay, well...
Square Enix has decided to withdraw from IO Interactive.
I'm not surprised.
Danish studio behind the Hitman franchise, and it's probably pretty easy to discern why.
It's what I said right when the game came out. Episodic release is going to kill this game.
But this is the perfect example of like no good deed goes unpunished in like the video game universe, because IO took like a huge risk on this episodic release and nobody believed in them, including every single one of us, I think. I mean, you can go back every week. We were like, Hitman,
no, you're right.
Who cares?
No, hey.
Just give us all the games at the same time.
I will not allow you to lump me in with that, dude.
Okay.
I was an early supporter. I was trying to get y'all on board way back in the day when Episode 1 came around. I'm gonna stand up for myself.
The issue wasn't, like I said when it came out, the issue wasn't the game was bad, because the game was excellent. The gameplay was great.
Yeah.
When you do something episodic like that, all the hype is burned out on Episode 1, and then it's done. Nobody gives a shit anymore. And the story for a Hitman, at the very least, not that I play Hitman for the story, but the story in Hitman was worse than any of the other stories from all the other Hitmans.
Jeez, I don't know. Like, it's really bad. And it's probably my favorite game of last year. But the story in Hitman, all caps, is really bad. But the story in Absolution is also pretty horrible.
I'm not saying the story was in Absolution was good. Fucking nuns with machine guns,
like the luchador section, and
you can tell me I'm wrong all I want, chat. But the game only sold 400,000 copies. Like,
you don't
did
even
not
go
sell
that far, though. Square Enix is the same freaking group that says Tomb Raider was unsuccessful.
Yeah,
right. Like, they just have a really weird metric for success.
They have a high standard,
but it only sold 400,000 copies. Even in the indie game world, that's garbage.
That's not garbage in any game world.
Well,
but that is.
What do they mean they sold? Because this is a weird pay model. So, like, do they mean they sold complete editions, or do they mean they sold?
That's a good question.
Episodic versions? Like, because I don't.
In the best case scenario, it's 400,000 full copies, right? Which still, like, even in that circumstance, is not meeting any criteria for any AAA developer.
It had like a super weird. Mathas, I think, is right. It got a really awesome long tail. Like, people are talking, maybe around like December, people were talking about Hitman more than it's ever been talked about. And the first episode came out in like April or something like that, or May. So I think when the first episode came out, people were like, I'll just wait for the whole thing. It didn't really get that much buzz. And by the time it's sort of
finished,
done,
too late.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate. But like the episodic model, they made me a believer in it in Hitman. But I mean, it's a super bummer for IO Interactive, and I think also for I don't want to say consumers, because I mean you can vote with your wallets, obviously, but like I really think that experiment panned out. It sucks that this is the consequence of it.
Chad, you have to understand, like with the episodic model, for us and the gaming enthusiasts, episodic is great because it keeps you coming back, or whatever. But for the general public, which is the people who are going to walk into a store and buy a game and go home, most people are going to get excited for the launch on day one, and then in a week they're done and they're on to the next game. That's how the hype cycle fucking works. That's how this industry has built this cycle. Mm-hmm. So once episode 1 is done, it's a 45-minute experience for most people, and then the next episode doesn't come out for another month. Most people are like, I'm done with the game. They don't care anymore. For us, people who are like in the industry and gives us a reason to come back and play over and over again, it's great. But the general public doesn't give a shit.
I think a lot of people might have seen a bit of a gold rush back when Telltale kind of made episodic a thing again, and maybe saw a little bit of a glimmer there that they could capitalize on. But I don't know. I don't think it really it might be, it's a culmination of a few issues, I'm sure. But I don't know if just the episodic system is good for anything that isn't hyper focused on narrative. I think that's what works for Telltale games.
Because they're niche, they're not trying to hit this blockbuster.
That's true
thing
too,
that Square Enix is trying to do. You can't compare them. And Final Fantasy VII is going to be episodic, which worries me. But I think also Final Fantasy VII is I mean, JRPG fans are JRPG fans. They're not, your typical consumer.
Mm-hmm. But JRPGs are they are heavily narrative focused, so I think it could work for that too. I think so too. I think that's the quintessential reason why episodes work is because they have to have people have to be drawn to the story to want to come back.
Right.
If you're going to sell something in episodes or sell something in seasons or sell something in just blocks of content, you're gonna introduce a whole bunch of shit that people are interested in, and then leave it on a cliffhanger or just on an interesting point that they want to see the resolution to at the end.
I agree with you and disagree with you with respect to Hitman specifically. I think that because this is the 8th game or whatever in the Hitman franchise, people have the preconceived notion, probably rightly, that it's a game you just play through. And then the Hitman, I don't think it did Hitman 2016, I don't think it did a great job of selling people on the idea that it's not like a playthrough once and then drop it game. It's actually, at the risk of being a caricature of myself, it's close to a roguelite, especially when they introduce things like the escalations where you got to beat these missions in 5 different ways, getting harder and harder, and especially the elusive targets where, that's a monthly challenge where they're kill this guy and use this weapon on this map and then go for it and get the highest score that you can. Instead, you kind of at least I was like this before I played it myself all the way through. I was I sort of don't get it. It feels like I would just wait and then beat all 6 missions in a day and then be done with the game instead of having to maintain a thread of being invested and every 3 months drop back into it.
Yeah, that's fair. No, and there's multiple considerations, as I mentioned too. I do wonder if that is, I don't know if you guys can hear that. Sorry, sirens going on. I don't know if that is enough though. To really push it, and I guess it wasn't.
I wonder who decided it was going to be episodic, IO or Square Enix.
It sounds like it might have been an IO thing because they had a second season planned as well that they never officially announced. So it might have just been their directive from the start. But
that being said, it still would be better, I think, if it just came out all at once.
Yeah, I agree.
If it came out with all 6 missions and then they were hey, once every 2 weeks there's going to be an elusive target, and then we'll keep releasing featured contracts and stuff like that, and then the DLC can be episodic, once every 2 or 3 months release 1 new mission. That's probably unrealistically fast, but that makes sense. But I don't know, it almost feels like that is a financial decision. Maybe they needed some of the money or wanted some of the money to fund later development. But, I mean, this is all spitballing, to be honest.
They did, not only they did the episodic releases, but while those were coming out, they had like the specialty elusive targets as well, right? That were sort of meant as a promotional thing. Which I think I agree that they should have just done that with the full release, and I really think that would have been a lot more effective. I'm sorry, I totally lost my train of thought. I'm reading this thing here too.
To take that episodic thing, I'm curious how much. How negative it was for them sales-wise right out the gate, because remember, there were rumors that were being reported that Deus Ex was also supposed to be initially episodic.
Oh, really?
And then after Hitman came out, that like there was rumors that they were scrambling to put the episode, like to not make it episodic and make it one cohesive game. So I wonder if just the launch immediately was just like a disappointment.
Yeah.
If I remember, there was like a dev blog that was talking about how they did the entire development cycle for Deus Ex as if it was not planning to be episodic, and then they dropped it on them in the last few months, and they had to start pulling stuff out of it so they could like reorganize it back into a better structure. And that, if that is the way that actually went, that tells me that this is more of a PR play than it is actually them caring about the quality of the game. That they see this as a sort of a trendy way to encapsulate this concept. And this is something that's traditionally associated with the way TV is sent to people. And something that I think you can't really escape from that concept is that people expecting something presented like a TV show are expecting a very highly narrative-oriented experience. Once you start getting into a very heavily gameplay-oriented experience and it drops off like that, it just doesn't have the same framing that leaves you with that satisfied, like, oh, I just can't wait to get back.
Yeah.
It leaves you with this, I'm frustrated, I can't keep playing the game I bought feeling, which is, they're dissonant concepts. It only works for Telltale because they dovetail so nicely into the next episode. I mean,
and Telltale games are minimal gameplay, mostly just a movie.
I still think Hitman works episodically and is not narrative driven, but I also agree that I don't think IO did a good job of selling that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a better structure, and again, like in the end, what do we know? But I feel like a better structure, having played like 80 hours of Hitman 2016, is you come out with like the canonical story missions whenever. I don't really care if it's episodic or it's all at launch. And then you have like a button that takes the same level, because those levels are like very tightly designed and they've got all sorts of tools and cool like takedowns that you can use. And you just press the button and it does the Hitman Roulette thing for you. It goes like, this is who you're killing, and it marks them on your map. And this is what you have to kill them with, and this is what you have to like escape it. Like almost straight up like an Isaac style random run. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
And then it accomplishes, I hope, and this is probably a little bit like we're a little too savvy, and I don't mean that as tooting our own horn, but like we're on the inside of already like most of us liking this game, so it's harder to sell to the general audience, I guess. But like, I think that does a second job of also advertising to people that this is not something to just be played once. It's actually an engine for you, like a sandbox to mess around with.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that would have been a better way to do it.
It could, like, this could have been another games as a service platform like For Honor or like Sieges now.
I think they wanted it to be. They just wanted it to be through the idea of it being episodic, which those ideas don't all roll together nicely because there's so many expectations that come with the one.
Right. Yeah. Well, sadly, we won't be seeing the continuation, at least from IO themselves, of Hitman. So now it sounds like Square has preserved the Hitman franchise. They still own it, or as far as I can tell.
Actually.
I thought they could shop around for a different publisher from what I read.
Currently in negotiations to secure this. I'm not 100% sure on
the way I understand it. Square Enix owns IO Interactive. They they basically issued a warning to their shareholders. They're like, you're not going to like the earnings statement because we are writing off like this incredible loss for running IO Interactive because Hitman didn't bring in the revenue we expected. But I think IO Interactive might own the Hitman trademark because they were making Hitman games before Square Enix bought them.
They made Absolution, right?
They made all of them, I thought.
Did they?
Yeah, I think IO's been involved in all of them.
I don't know. Who
It's
made?
funny, you go, their website right now says we're hiring. So I don't know.
Oh, we're hiring a new webmaster as well.
So since
they've done all the Hitmans.
They did all. Okay, I didn't realize it was all.
Or at least
Hitmans.
all the main canon
names.
Hitmans.
Sure.
Hitmans.
The main Hitmans. Yeah. So anyway, that's a shame. Condolences to the IO folks.
The message underlying this is like, what? Don't end up caught up with Square because they won't be satisfied with anything you make. I'm not joking. They didn't sell that well, to be honest.
It was a few facts.
It's a critical darling for sure, but
Yep.
I guess it's tough to sell to a general audience.
Big competition, man. Okay. Hey, The Witcher. It's getting a Netflix series. That's pretty dope.
It's another critical darling I've heard.
Yeah.
Witcher, greatest game of 2017.
Game of the year 2017.
Game of the year.
I think the Witcher television show is gonna be garbage.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Oh,
Why?
shit.
Because I just don't believe in it at all. Not conceptually, but the article I read, and I don't want to be insulting here, but it's not like, this is David Cronenberg making The Witcher or something like that. They're like, a Polish production company is handling the creation of The Witcher. And I'm like, okay, it's not necessarily bad, but also the fact that I've never heard of them or anything they've done kind of intimidates me.
The Oscar-nominated visual effects studio Platige Image SA is doing the show.
Yeah.
We don't know. Maybe they're.
I don't know, yeah.
Cool.
Well, let me look them up here.
I think the primary concern here is who's playing Geralt.
No, this matters not.
Doesn't matter?
It matters who's making the show. Netflix isn't making the show. They're just publishing the show.
That's true.
They made cinematics for Total War Warhammer 2. That's pretty sweet.
Well, the Tease did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They made the making of for Watch Dogs 2. They did some cinematics in Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Okay.
You know what? They helped make Kingsglaive, the
There
Final
you
Fantasy
go.
15 movie.
There you go. They did cinematics in the Wild Hunt. I don't know if you already said that.
Okay. And cinematics for Prey.
Yeah.
They've done a lot of video game cinematics and then also commercials. So
Seems like
this
a
is
good fit.
why I'm cautiously pessimistic.
Is
not to
that
be
even
rude.
a phrase?
I'm almost optimistic, but I just can't be.
I'm with you though. I hope it's gonna be. I hope it's gonna be good, but I won't cross my fingers for it.
Who's going to be Geralt, though?
Mads Mikkelsen.
They will not be able to afford Mads Mikkelsen.
Michael
You want-
Fassbender.
This is zero chance. You want me to read off the things that the studio has done before? What you're looking for here is like a dude who played like the second in command on Spartacus or something. And this, if it succeeds, will be his breakout role.
One of those Black Mirror actors that hasn't gotten a better offer yet.
Yeah, and then Yennefer shows up for one episode, and it's like Eliza Dushku or something. Like,
Who the fuck is Eliza Dushku?
she
Whoa,
was
damn.
the lead in Dollhouse, and
River
She-
Tam in Firefly.
There you go.
Oh, she was
No,
Faith on
I'm just
Buffy
kidding.
the Vampire
Just
Slayer and its
Yeah,
spin-off
she's-
series Angel.
I'm way wrong on the
Yeah, you're
Firefly
dead wrong.
girl. Who was River Tam? I can't remember her name.
No, I think this is going to be great, man. Next Game of Thrones. Easy. Honestly, though, like, playing The Witcher 3, I get Game
Some
of Thrones
of that,
vibes
that's
from
what
it
it is.
when you encountered some situations, don't you?
not
it's like...
It's way more fantastical.
Yes.
Than Game of
Yes,
Thrones.
that's true.
Like, incredibly more fantastical.
So you don't
So-
think that will translate well?
Yeah, they need a good budget
Yeah, they
to
do.
bring some of these monsters to life.
Oh, God. I can't...
It's all about Geralt is a monster. Like that is what he does. He
Yeah.
hunts magical beasts. That is
Well,
his pure
so
the
the
reason he
seasonal-
exists.
It'll be 12 episode seasons, and only in the last 2 episodes do any monsters show up at all. Other than that, it'll be mostly riding on horses and talking to old people.
Yeah, DBZ style. We don't need any actual action. We just need narrative. That's what keeps us coming back in the episodes.
I'm
That's what
very
we just talked about. You're skeptical as well? I think it's going to be gold. I think it's going to be beautiful.
Game to TV and movie transitions have never been very kind. Ever.
I know. There's no reason for me to believe that
exceptions?
this is going to be good, and there's an entire documented history of every single video game to movie or TV adaptation or vice versa being terrible. But you know what?
When was the last time you, as an adult, saw a video game cinematic and said, "Oh, that's Hollywood level"? Like
Blizzard.
Yeah,
I don't even.
Blizzard.
But there's adult
Yeah.
though, because like Warcraft, the movie, like exists.
That's true.
So like it's a different standard. Games, and I, this is biting the hand that feeds. I notedly am more mechanics driven than narrative driven. A lot of games are not written that well. The Witcher 3 might be like the best written game of all time, but even still, I'm skeptical that it can transition easily to the small screen.
Cat's right, though. Remember, the games are based on the books, so it already has a more narrative route.
So that's why the Harry Potter... Wait, no, never mind.
But the thing...
You don't want to go down that road?
If it's less like monster-focused, more like narrative, detective, dialogue-focused, that's fine, and it eliminates the problem of maybe the CGI being dicey, but you still got to, like, write and act well.
See, now, you said The Witcher 3 might be the best written game of all time. I don't know if you forgot. I just want to make sure you remembered that Spec Ops: The Line exists. So you got to make sure you give that the pedestal placement.
But if it, like, I would love for it to work. That would be cool. I think The Witcher has a better chance than, like, the worst thing is when it's like, hey, popular video game that's sort of vapid is getting turned into a movie. You're like, who cares? Like Assassin's Creed, for example.
See, you got to take him out of the Ezio role into the Geralt role.
Prince of Persia.
Oh yeah,
I remember the hype around that one. Everybody's like, "This is gonna be the first one."
Prince of Persia stopped being a game all of a sudden. They made so many of them.
Fucking Jake Gyllenhaal happened to it, man. That's what happened.
Prince of Persia died when Assassin's Creed got popular.
Oh, that's true too, actually.
Have you guys read the? It went viral like 6 weeks ago or something. But the interview with the Witcher writer and also, I forget who the other guy was. But the gist of it is basically that they're interviewing the Witcher writer and they're like, "How do you feel about the games?" And he's like,
hates them.
Yeah, he's like, well, first off, they're not really for me. And secondly, I think the books have helped the games more than the games have helped the books. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, like,
he's one of those.
That's actually just
wrong,
stubborn, and hilarious. But that's like George R.R. Martin being like, yeah, I think the books have really helped the show more than the show has helped the books. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but the level of exposure is like, 100 times greater for one of them.
Let's be real, George.
Come on, man.
Come on, buddy. Hey, Nick.
Hello.
Tell me about the Elgato Stream Deck, would you?
Sure, I could do that. So Elgato has recently released a product, and when I say recently, I mean like this week, and I happened to grab one, and what it is a piece of hardware with 15 LED screen buttons on it that are customizable and programmable, with the idea of making it somewhat easier to have a physical interface for streamers or other people involved in any kind of technology, really, that want to have some keys at the ready. Basically set up the way you want, have some stuff ready to go, press the buttons, and stuff happens. And at face value, I heard that pitch, and I said, you know what, that's a really good idea. Why has nobody done that yet? This is a $150 product, though, so keep that in mind. Or what's the Canadian price again? It's $280?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure if it's through like an authorized reseller or something. I mean, I'm on the page still, but it's 298 Canadian dollars.
That's like really expensive.
From Elgato. Yeah, so it is. That's just Elgato.
Man, yeah.
This is not a sponsored thing, by the way. They did not send me one, nor did they give me any kind of anything.
It's because they can't. Because you're their audience, right?
Oh, you're the only person buying it.
I was thinking about that. I was like, man, like, I'm like Z-list internet famous. I might be able to get like a free unit of this. And I was like, why would they send me a free unit?
But they did, though. They sent a ton of them out, actually.
Did they?
So they eliminated half.
Them, they just ignored me.
They eliminated half of their potential consumer base via promotion.
That's like you run like a wastewater treatment facility or something. You're just giving out wastewater treatment.
Yeah.
Just bottles of wastewater treatment.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's like you're giving your service away to the biggest customer.
I followed along.
I'm trying to say I'm unbiased here, so
Yeah.
I don't really care one way or the other, except for the money that I put into it, which whatever, it's a business expense.
Good.
So my ultimate thought on the matter is it's a pretty good idea. The software leaves a lot to be desired at this point, but has a lot of room for improvement and could get a lot better. At the moment, the obvious thing is they want to kind of loop it in with their other Elgato streaming products.
That was my first question, actually, is if it's like...
You're not locked into them, though, so that you can get it regardless if you use OBS or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look on their list of like macros and custom stuff, the top stuff's all the Elgato stuff, which is reasonable.
Sure.
I would imagine anybody would say it would be stupid of them not to have done it that way. But props for not locking you into all Elgato stuff, because otherwise somebody else would immediately go, oh, I'll just make this and not have it be about Elgato.
Yeah.
And then they would have gotten my dollars there instead. So the options that you have are fairly limited. If I pull up the software here, for OBS, what you can do is you can toggle a scene on or off. You can toggle mixer audio, so you can set like your mic to be on or off. You can turn a source on or off, and that actually has some pretty cool purposes that you can use that for. And they show stuff like you can have an animated GIF or a sound be triggered by pressing a button.
Mm-hmm.
So in the middle of your stream, if something happens, you can kind of dynamically react to that instead of having to know all these hotkeys and kind of fumble around with them.
3 different air horns at various pitches.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, okay.
That very thing.
Good.
Also worth mentioning, all of the 15 buttons can hold a folder, and each one of those folders can have 14 more buttons within them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just 15, it's, do the math, which does help. You can also link it up with Twitter, and basically what it does is it'll give you a way to link your account to it, and when you press a button, it will tweet whatever you pre-specified. It's not dynamic at all, though, so you can't have it, like, say, pull the title from your Twitch stream and go, looks like I'll be streaming this when you press the button. It's always going to be the same message unless you change it, which, why is that any better than actually just tweeting
I want to
it
be so shitty to you right now, man, because I want to be like, they have a website for that. It's called twitter.com, where you can type in a message and then click a button. And you send it
That's exactly what I mean when I say the software has potential, but it isn't quite there yet. Like, there's no actual reason that that's useful, other than you could make a folder of 14 options of what you want to tweet.
Just like
Like, how fucking lazy are you at that?
For real, can you, this is a genuine question.
Yeah.
Can you nest a folder inside of a folder?
No. It stops at one folder deep. They said they are open to doing that in the future if people want it, though.
Because then, at that point, it's unlimited. You could be busting out
Yeah, technically, yeah.
It's limited by the RAM.
The brand
on your
of the
computer,
process,
I guess.
So that's the main stuff, and then there's actually direct Twitch functionality with it. You can send a chat message, which, again, same as the Twitter one. Like, why would you do that? I don't really understand the point of that at all. There's a special icon that represents your viewer total, which is kind of nice. You can have a physical representation of how many viewers are going at the time right in front of you. Unfortunately, the text for it is extremely tiny. Like, they don't offer you any options to customize the text that's on it, so kind of can't really see it very well. You can set it to sub chat via a button, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
You can also set it to slow chat and then specify how many seconds slow chat. So those are the exact type of things I want more of. Little commands that are nested within that have all the references taken care of.
Right.
Like, they don't require you to script anything. They don't require you to know anything. They just give you a drop-down menu that says, how long do you want slow time to be? Or other varieties of things like that. And that's where the OBS stuff gets a little janky, because a lot of it is just, do you want a hotkey reference to a thing you can already have a hotkey to? I want you to remove hotkeys because I don't know how many conflicting hotkeys I might have outside of your software.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if I make it like Control-Shift-F for something, and then I also use that in Winamp for something, and I press the hotkey for streaming stuff, it might also trigger the Winamp thing. I want you to do all the hotkey stuff on your end. So that way, I just want the command to do what it does, press the button, it does the thing.
That's like the whole point, I would think.
Keep going.
It is. And in this case, it's really just referencing things that it already can do. But there are exceptions, like I said, of some things that are linked directly through their own API, like the OBS stuff.
Yeah, okay.
There's also, you can press a button, have it pull up a website, which I'm really sure, again, what the use of that is. Because
I have that on my keyboard.
Yeah. I like this one, though. There's a hotkey switch. And what this does is it'll allow you to specify 2 different hotkeys with 2 different icons and 2 different titles. So when you press it, it'll trigger something, then it'll switch to the other one. And if you press it again, it'll do the other thing and switch back to the first one.
Okay.
So in this case, it's not just a press it and forget it kind of thing. It's actually got some versatility to it.
Yeah.
So I want to see more of that kind of stuff showing up in the software in the future. There's also just a one-press hotkey. So if you have a thing you want to trigger once, every time you press it, it'll do that. I have it set up right now to be my soundboard, essentially. So you can open a multimedia file, and it'll just play it. And then if you set up your Windows player properly, it'll just close after the fact. You can have it directly open any file on your computer. So if you want it to open like Photoshop or another app, whatever you want it to be, you can just set up an icon for it. Yeah. And you can do multimedia stuff. So if you want to do play, pause, skip on your music functionality.
So there's a small argument to be made here that this could be practical for not just streamers, but for anybody looking to set up quick macros.
So I was thinking, like, I mean, it's too expensive for that generalized use, in my opinion.
Right, yeah, definitely.
But I have seen people, like, Nick, you can buy, like, those Wacom remotes.
Yeah.
And then those basically hook into Photoshop or an Illustrator program natively with shortcuts. But you can just do that with this instead, and then connect the macro for opening those programs or those tools to the Stream Deck itself. But you could also theoretically do that with like a USB like numpad or something.
You could, but in this case, the one reason that I thought this was a superior solution is that it's got screens on it. So you can customize stuff, have saved profiles, and whatever you're doing, like it's there with the info in front of you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you buy a little hotkey thing, you got to like write on little pieces of paper and slip them under the keys.
This is like straight up
silly, but
the most meaningless, like least entertaining question I've ever asked on Roundtable. For the LCD screen, are there default template images that can be used for things? And or can you put your custom images in there?
I was actually going to talk about that regardless if you asked that or not. So that's another shortcoming of the software but it's not built into the software. You've got to go to a part of their website, edit it up, and then export it as a JPEG. But you can make your own in Photoshop. What I did is I took one of their blank templates, just exported it, pulled that into Photoshop, cut out the corner rounded edges, and then I can just drag images into it and save them as JPEGs. So, you can do it all through their stuff, but you don't have it all in one spot, which is super lame. Like, you got to go to their website, set it up, change it. You won't be able to save it separately. You got to do it and save it, and then, it's a whole thing.
Honestly, I've still been considering, for my little button that is macro to launch Rocket League on my keyboard, I've been considering cutting out a little Rocket League logo on paper and just taping it to it, because I
made a Between the Buried and Me button, so whenever I want to start playing random Between the Buried and Me music, I can just press the button and off it goes, which is cool. Not really a thing a lot of people need to do, but for me. And again, this is not a sponsored thing. I have sort of a middling opinion of the thing. I don't think it's worth $150, and I think right now it's especially not, because the software needs to catch up. But in maybe a year, when it comes down a little in price and the software has a lot more features, I'd say, probably check it out. There'll probably be some competition by then, too. So,
this kind of reminds me, did you ever play with that custom desktop tool called Rainmeter, Nick?
Yeah,
I did. Yeah, I figured you would have played.
I'm big on the Windows modding kind of customization stuff.
I'm probably going to buy this.
Yeah?
You think so?
Yeah. I think basically it's stupid as hell. And like, obviously, if you've ever seen a show that I don't do anything that requires this level of customizability. But I do think that having potentially 210 sound files at a fingertip is exactly what I want.
Yeah,
I want like
to remember what they are.
Like if something goes wrong, or
get the Price is Right failure song.
I'm not setting up the soundboard. You got to get the wave files and put them together.
That's fine. I can. And the other thing is, like, it's way too expensive, but and you can make your own. But I'm gonna spend like 4 days making my own to save like, $100, and I'm not gonna make one with 15 LCD screens on it. Like that's just not plausible. So this seems sensible to me as a really stupid purchase. Plus, in a way, I actually respect that Elgato is making tools for streamers, and part of the rub of being in an industry is because it's a niche audience, you pay more than it's worth, probably.
I think you're kind of paying for the aesthetic a little bit here too.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
it's a convenience thing. Yeah, I don't know of a solution that's like this with the software with the LCD screens.
Yeah.
I mean, you can probably make one, like you said, but this is kind of just ready to go out of the box. which is where the extra money is going. And, you know, I just figured I'd go into fairly good detail about this because I've watched quite a few videos and it doesn't seem like anybody's really used it yet and have like opinions about it that I've seen. So since people asked me, I was like, hey, might as well.
Yeah, no, I'm sure there's quite a few folks that were curious, so we appreciate it.
Now, what I wanted to do is have a button that will execute an exe file that I wrote myself, and then that exe file executes all the stuff custom that I wanted to do. Like,
yeah, you can do that.
What is that file type called, Nick, that you use?
Bat file.
That's it, yeah. I was going to call it a tarball.
Come on, Unity confirmed.
There's a compression type called TAR, so
that's it.
What you meant.
Yeah, so you need one button, launches, what is it called again?
This guy's Unity. No kidding, huh, Mathas? Unity certified developer up here.
Yeah, come on, man.
It's not really to do with Unity.
That has actually nothing to do with Unity, but...
All right.
I didn't put the air horn on it yet, guys. If you want to send me sound files, that'll be a helpful thing.
Dude, swear to God, 3 different pitches of air horn is all you need. That'll carry you to victory.
I could set the pitches. I just don't have the air horn outside of my phone yet.
Hey, hey, Brian.
Oh, hey, what's up,
man?
Brian?
What's up, Brian? Who's Brian?
Hey, Brian.
We don't want to get into this Brian stuff, I promise you.
Hey, Greg, you want to tell me about Strafe?
Yeah, Strafe is a roguelite first-person shooter that is extremely dedicated to the 1996 aesthetic, except for the fact that you actually have the ability to freely aim instead of just aiming directly in front of your person. So you start, you choose a gun, and then you go through these procedurally generated levels. Sometimes you got to do the FPS thing where you grab keys and then use the keys to open color-coded gates and stuff like that. But mostly you're just trying to live. You gather resources. You use those resources to buy ammunition because you run out constantly. And then eventually you die. And that is Strafe.
Dope. Nick, do you echo the thoughts?
Strafe is not great.
Yes.
I've heard as much as well, yeah.
I've heard it spent more money on its PR budget than on the actual game.
Wow.
Strafe is like a really good pitch wrapped in a game that's not that fun. Is the thing. It's like it's a good idea. It's like, hey, remember those first-person shooters from the 1990s? Let's just apply like a modern framework to that and it'll be cool. But most of the time it ends up just being kind of boring, and despite being procedurally generated, like very, very samey in my experience.
A lot of hallways.
You're right about that.
A lot of hallways and then like big rooms with exactly the same enemy just running at you.
I want to come down a little less hard on it, but still sort of hard on it. I had a lot of expectations going into this one, thing it was going to be amazing, because I played it years ago and it was still very early in development. I didn't even know it was going to end up being a full game. And at that time, it seemed about as done as it is now, sort of. I mean, they wrapped it up in the whole roguelike framework a little bit better, and now there are actually discrete areas, whereas in prior, I think it was only the spaceship area. And it's broken up sort of like Spelunky, where there's, I think it's either... Is it somewhere between 2 and 4 zones within each sub-zone? So, like, the first ones are the spaceship, and then you go to, like, a town or something. I don't actually know the thing, because I've never beaten level 3. But once you beat an area, you can spend money to open up portals that take you past the first one straight to the second one. Like, if you wanted to go to the ice caves, essentially, you could jump ahead. It's extremely badly balanced, though, is the problem, and it's just not that fun. The idea is great, and it's very visceral. It's fun to play, but it just breaks you down with the difficulty very quickly.
Wait, hold
like
on.
Brian said, the enemies mostly just run at you, which is lame.
Elaborate on that a bit for me, though. It's like it's not fun, but it's still like fun to just
the gunplay is fun.
Yeah.
But the way the game mechanics sort of force you to just die over and over with no actual semblance of actual progression is not fun, especially when the soundtrack is kind of like overly loopy. Like, it's short. You just hear the same bit over and over on level 1.
Yeah.
The level generation doesn't have enough hooks to it. It's very similar from one run to the next. And there just isn't enough diversity to make it really that interesting. I mean, you pick from one of 3 weapons to start off with, which seems fine, especially since you can upgrade them. But during the course of upgrading them, you might only see one upgrade through the first couple of levels, and you'll run into these one-off weapons that you can shoot for a little bit, but you only get one clip with. and you don't get nearly enough of those. You're basically just using the one weapon you get always until you upgrade it, and you might get an upgrade you don't like. So, like, that's it for gunplay, is you better like the gun you picked.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a machine gun, which is awful, a shotgun, which is obviously superior, and a railgun, which is, like, in the middle.
Also, I mean, maybe this has been patched, because we played it, like, almost 2 weeks ago now, but the guns have no game feel to them at all.
No recoil?
Like, yeah, exactly. Like, to me, it really feels like you are holding... Like, you're holding a 3D modeled object in front of you, and projectiles are just spewing out of it. There's kickback. There's no, like, visceral sense of, like, dunk, 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 you know? Like, when we were playing Quake Champions, like, if you're using those guns, and there's a lot of negative things I'm sure you can say about Quake Champions, but they each have their own unique feel. And when you have the rocket launcher, even though the rockets are small, and I thought it was some kind of weird flat cannon, like, it feels like you've got a heavy weapon. There's explosions that happen. There's like feedback visually and auditorily from the game that you're shooting. Whereas in Strafe, it's really just like zzz, zzz, like your gun. It really does not feel like you're shooting.
Yeah,
I can tell they put all the attention that normally goes to that into what happens to the enemies after you hit them with the projectiles. The inordinate amounts of work went into the detail and the gore and the gibs and the blood flying off the walls, and like individual little rivulets of blood running down the wall. Which is like, that one thing stands out as having so much more work than so many other things.
And the trailers.
But I'm kind of putting that stuff to the side to just talk about the game.
I mean, I can believe that they really went heavy with the PR campaign too. In fact, I remember last PAX going to the booth, the Devolver booth. They had a Strafe section of it that was like, well, they had the tower that you were playing the game on looked like one of those old Dell machines from '96 that's like a fucking kitchen garbage can, and
nice.
You know, it's, I don't know why they were so adamant about, you know, keeping that theme alive with all this stuff, even though, like, I mean, I guess that is sort of the whole point, is, right, like, the people that will like this are the people that enjoyed these FPSs from '96. But
well, I want to tackle that for a second, because pardon me while I parrot, you know, somebody else who played it. But I'm curious, because I'm curious if it rings true for the two of you who have played it. Specifically, TB said in his video, like, the reason those shooters from '96 were so good, even the new Doom is so good, it's because the levels are meticulously created to be arenas that you can move around and have fun. You try all these different weapons, and allows you the freedom to exploit the movement, and it's like, it's arcadey in that way. But this game, because it's randomly generated, doesn't have that level of detail. So like you said, you're running down hallways and you don't get to have that experience. So as much as it looks like it's from '96, it doesn't play like one of those games from '96.
It's just dead ends all the time.
Is that
like,
right?
You think you're going somewhere to progress the level, find out you just hit a complete dead end, and then realize you have nowhere to go that makes any sense that you realize. And then you look at your map, which is like, you position the camera down and to the left.
Yeah, here the map
and
is
your
awful.
arm comes up and you can't see anything on the map.
oh,
It's so
that's,
pixelated.
Well, I think, Mathas, you through TB have touched on like a valid point, that it says that it has like this ridiculous adherence to the 1996 aesthetic, but it's really, it makes weird design decisions that are at odds with that. Like, allowing you complete freedom of aiming, I'm actually glad they did, because I can't play like a Doom style shooter, like a Doom 2 style shooter in this day and age, or like Wolfenstein 3D. But like, the fact that you have to not only reload, but your ammunition is limited. And then we were kind of trying to suss out, do you lose the ammo that's left in your clip if you reload before the clip is completely empty? If so, like, I get it, but this isn't Red Orchestra. Like, you're making a game that's, the aesthetic and like the selling point is that it's supposed to be so arcadey, and yet you're doing like super simulation-y mechanics for bullets that even like Call of Duty doesn't do, which is not a simulation, but is certainly more like simulated or simulatory.
Has more reason to do that than Strafe
exactly.
does.
Yeah.
The temperament of development is such that you would expect they would put all of their eggs in the basket of fun, not things that cause the player to have a worse time because it's simulation. That's kind of, I think, where we're going.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then running out of ammo means you have to, well, or at least if you're bad like I am, you have to go spend your whatever you get, shells, on ammunition instead of being able to buy HP or armor or, you know, whatever else you can spend your resources on. So I always just feel like I'm playing that, like, Gungeon, like novice Gungeon game where I'm like spending all of my resources on HP just to stay alive and like die later.
Yeah.
Instead of actually having a chance to build a winnable
That's
run.
the Dead Cells game I'm playing right now.
Oh yeah, dude. Speaking of which, Dead Cells is just better than
Dead Cells is excellent.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Right,
Not to be
like
rude.
a different kind of game.
sort of, but
They're kind of comparable, kind of a little bit.
The thing is, like, Strafe, I don't want to insult the developers, but it's like, it's just, I don't think I would have liked the game if they delivered what they promised. So they're kind of screwed from my standpoint, whether they do or they don't.
Sure.
But I don't necessarily think they did right by the design pitch that they seem to have for the
gimmick over substance.
How about this? I know I would have liked what they were pitching me on, and I have 5 hours in it, so I gave it more than a chance to get me, I never beat the beginning of level 3.
Wow. That's...
In 5 hours. And I'm not saying I'm great at first-person shooters, especially if you watched me play Quake the other day, but I do have a lot of time in them over the years, and it's not like I don't pick up on the nuance of how you're supposed to play them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was missing something drastic, or it's really imbalanced.
Also, I haven't played Cigarette, but I still, to this day, have not found, like, a first-person shooter roguelite that I think is great. I've played a few of them that I think are good to okay. I mean, we all know what games I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I don't need to, like, necessarily drudge up every single example, but I'm still waiting on, like, that first-person shooter plus roguelite formula that hits, and I definitely do not think Strafe might be the worst of those.
I was actually because I didn't realize Strafe was actually going to be a roguelite until it came out. I thought it was going to be like a
same actually
single player.
Yeah, it was just going to be a linear experience, or
Yeah, I thought it was just going to be a linear experience that harkened back to that, you know, mid '90s era shooter with some modern takes. And then I heard roguelike, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any why. Because everything has to be a roguelike now. Like, in this, just to, like, the past 3 weeks, I feel like we've had, like, 4 different roguelikes come out.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
One of them has crushed it.
Yeah.
Yes, one of them has crushed it.
One of them.
Before we get to that, though, let me talk.
This is a perfect segue, Bear. You're missing out.
I know, yeah, because they've been talking about this goddamn game the entire time, too, and that'd be Quake Champions.
We're going to throw off your docket, man. Just shift it around.
Oh, just cut him off mid-word.
They've been talking about this, too. Quake Champions. Quake Champions. I want to hear from Nick first on that one.
Quake Champions is the reimagining, rebirth, I guess you could say, of the Quake 3 arena shooter formula, where you get some friends together, make a little team, go online, shoot the hell out of each other. It's a very simple type of game. But this is not a very simple type of time we live in. So they had to augment what we knew to be a very simple concept and add visual shit now, which is the loot crates and the unlockable customization options. So if you know the way Quake used to be, it's just here's a collection of levels, get your friends together, shoot each other. It's got like 30 skins you could change your character to, but who really cares? It's just the guy you pick.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter. But the premise of Quake Champions is it now matters which guy you pick, because they each have their own little subtle ability to it. And I will give them credit here. They didn't go over the top with the abilities and make it like the thing you lean on all the time. I mean, you can play with it more or less depending on your preference, but you could kind of just ignore it for the most part and not probably make a huge difference if you're any good.
Mm-hmm.
They update it graphically, of course. Game still runs very smooth. Feels like Quake, still very, very quick. They've added a few new weapons, kind of reimagined some of them to be a little different than what they were. Still got a railgun, though, so that felt good.
Mm-hmm.
They got a much more apathetic-sounding announcer for this one as well.
He is... Bear, you should apply the work. Because, like, seriously, the announcer's like, they have the obelisk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he doesn't give it. It sounds like placeholder sound, actually.
It's like until they get the real guy, they just get
maybe
somebody from the QA team or something. Yeah. Well, shit.
The enemy has the obelisk.
I better send him a reel. Okay.
Yeah, do it. So we played the sort of closed open beta where anyone can get in, but you've got to request a code. And it's got 3 maps and 3 game modes, deathmatch, team deathmatch, and this other sort of new one where it's like a combination of capture the flag and domination. You have to like hold a soul and then stand by an obelisk. Oh, yeah, it's a little confusing, honestly. I'm not really sure what we were doing for most of it. I only got to try out 3 of the, I think it was 8 heroes. The main guy, the Quake guy that you normally get as the default, he can throw his little ball and then teleport to it. And then when you teleport to it, you can telefrag somebody if you're in line with it. You can also just use that for general mobility. There's a lady that can go invisible, and when she comes out of being invisible, she can frag whoever's in front of her. And then there's a guy with a mask for a face that can see through walls. So that's 3 of them. There's also a dinosaur that shoots acid blood, a lady that leaves a trail that lights people on fire, a lady that leaves a totem on the ground that either heals you or damages you depending on your team, a robot that has a shield. Mostly all of these have an analog to Overwatch, I've noticed.
I was looking to say, it sounds like Overwatch.
There is one dude who is a robot, and he has Ruckus's / Reinhardt's shield.
Yeah.
People shit on Paladins for it, and time to shit on Quake.
There's a Rhino Man that charges too. So that's a thing. And yeah, they do have different stats. They have slightly different HP. The lady that goes invisible, she only has 75 health, which kind of sucks because she's super easy to kill. Anyway,
there's a large man with a hammer named Reinhort.
I was a little put off by the way that they're structuring the unlocks in that you just don't get all the stuff. You've got to play 100 matches and slowly unlock the characters. They also let you rent characters for a day at a time. So if you want to try one out, you can spend the easy-to-get currency and then keep one for 24 hours, and then you can maybe get them out of a loot crate later, or you can pay the harder-to-get currency to get them directly.
That's kind of cool,
I'm still not sure how many characters there's going to be in total and how difficult the currency will be to obtain. So at this point, I don't know what my opinion is yet, but I don't love it, but I also don't think it's a showstopper either.
I like that rental system. That's neat. I'd like to see that employed in other games.
I actually hate it.
Really?
And not just to be divisive. And by the way, I think I want to preface this by saying I actually like Quake Champions so far. I think the best thing about it is that in an era where getting shot once in the head takes you out of the game forever, because I've been playing so much Battlegrounds, this is really like, it's not a low-skill game at all, but it is a little mindless in the sense that you can go in and just play and not have to worry about it. Like, if you die, then you're in misery for 40 minutes or something. But I hate it because it just complicates not even the design. I just don't understand what I'm looking at when I load up the main screen. There's 3 kinds of in-game currency, and then there's 3 kinds of loot chests that you can get. I don't know if they correspond or you can upgrade one to the other or what. Then you can rent the heroes. When you open the loot boxes, you don't just get you don't get skins anymore. There's like torso shaders, leg shaders, like mask shaders.
Wow.
The amount of loot and the different ways to get it is so muddied that I just don't know what I'm looking at all ever.
The solution that I got from playing a bit of it, is that you just kind of play games and you get crates for leveling. The currency is on top of it, and I'm not clear on that part, but I did get the hardest to get crate just by playing games.
Okay.
And that did unlock one of the characters, and since there are very few characters, I assume that's a very high value pull to get from that chest. I agree, though. It's super muddy and complicated and overly complicated. I mean, especially when mostly all of the things you're getting are just cosmetic, silly things. Like, why do you have to make it so complicated?
So it doesn't sound like you necessarily have an issue with the rental system, then. It's just that the loot in the inventory itself is extremely difficult to navigate?
It's just like one more thing on top of it.
Okay.
Like, Brett, I come from the era of, there's 2 kinds of currency. There's in-game currency that you earn, and then there's like diamonds that you put your real money into.
Yeah.
Right.
And in this one, there's in-game currency that you earn. There's I forget what the ones, they're like radiation or something. You pay money.
There's favor, and then there's shards, and then there's one other one.
So the one that I don't understand is the one that's like in the middle. Oh, that you told me that's dust. Where
you break down your shaders to turn into things you can then spend to get other shaders.
Yes, and I just want to be Quake Man and shoot my rocket launcher at people, which is okay because I heard that there is a I don't know how to say it, a SKU coming out where you can just buy the whole game and you get everything like Overwatch style.
So they might be going the Killer Instinct route, which is to release it piecemeal and then also the whole game for a price. But I don't know if they're intending it to be free initially or what. If you get the limited edition. No, limited edition is not the right word to use to describe that. The constrained edition.
Yeah.
It's a bit more complicated than the actual game to just break into the monetization scheme of it, honestly.
As far as that's concerned, creative director Tim Willits said at its core, it's a free-to-play game with the option to buy the champion packs and just get in and play with all the champions.
Okay. So the Smite way of doing things.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Overwatch, and Chad's right about this, Overwatch doesn't let you buy in and get all the skins. If you want skins, you still got to buy loot boxes or earn them at an incredibly slow pace after like 30 hours. But I just want the characters. Like on the same boat, I played like some Heroes of the Storm with Kate, and I have like, just for playing, I got like 20 heroes.
Yeah, they give you a free 20 heroes of 2.0.
And then Kate was like,
assassins, tanks.
Kate's like, you should play as this guy. And I went to my inventory, and it was like, I don't have that guy. And then she's like, well, just unlock him. And I was like, well, I don't have, what, Chirons or whatever the heck they're called. And then she's like, get some Chiron.
Let's establish now like a universal currency that every game can use as like, this is how you buy shit. We need to, shards is probably it. Let's just call everything shards.
The Heroes of the Storm also has 3 currencies now with 2.0. They've got gold, they've got shards, and they've got real world money. You can.
Do they call it real world money?
And then they just like charge you straight up. You want this hero? It's like $4.99.
It's just got USD.
I mean, why not just do that? I mean, fucking Microsoft points went away because people were like, I just want to see what I'm buying for money.
Dude, not to pump their tires too hard. And we all know there's problems with Nintendo's online services. But when you buy games online, you no longer have to buy like Wii points. You can buy them if you want, like, because we're buying stuff in Canada. Obviously, the prices are weird, and they're never $15 or $20. They're always like $17.35 or something.
Yeah.
There's an option. You can get $15. You can get $20. I don't know why you ever would. Or you can just be like, just add exactly enough money to purchase this game.
Yes.
And I'm like, that should be the only option.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what PlayStation does too.
Yeah, they've done that now too. Mm-hmm.
So I hope this monetization talk hasn't distracted too much from the actual game, because the actual game is fine. Like, it's pretty much what it says on the tin. If you disregard all of that business about how it's complicated, like, it's just Quake 3 with a better graphics engine. It's just as smooth as it ever was. It looks great. I really like the maps, actually. I have to say, I was paying very careful attention to the level design. And I don't know if they kept the same people that did the Quake 3 level design. I know one of the maps was actually an upgrade from a direct Quake 3 level, but the ones that weren't really looked very much like they could have been Quake 3 maps. And they were well designed, and I like them, and I can't wait to see more. They had some really cool visual gimmickry, which is not a thing Quake was really known for quite as much. That was more Unreal's thing. But these had some really cool focal points to them visually, even though you're flying past them shooting rockets. It's kind of cool every now and then. You just look around, you're like, oh, there's like a million floating islands over there. That's neat. There's like a chained up eyeball in one of them. That was a big focal point because it's an eye. And in general, just had that kind of macabre, dark. I almost said Dark Souls, but in a way I'm not even wrong. Just kind of gothic architecture, creepiness to it.
Yeah.
And I like that about Quake. Visually, very nice. Gameplay seems to be fine. It's very smooth, very fast. Had no issues with connections, really. We had a few issues. Well, once we got into a party, I should say.
Yeah.
But that's kind of to be expected in everything these days. It just sort of played like Halo, get in a group and go.
The people who are like, because there was a lot of this in chat. People were like, oh, it's just Overwatch. I don't see it, especially because, I mean, the aesthetic is extremely not Overwatch. And it also seems like it's way more based on mechanical skill as opposed to differences in between characters.
Not every team shooter is Overwatch.
Exactly. Just because they have their own abilities, I don't think that means that
I think it's cool that we're seeing first-person shooters integrate like unique abilities per character. It adds variety to the gameplay.
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's Overwatch.
The principal problem right now is that the matchmaking is in a weird place. In that, I feel like
the skill levels are off. You mean?
Yes, I feel like a lot of the people playing Quake Champions have like 10 years of experience in Quake 3. So when we boot up a party and it's like me, Rob, Nick, and Cobalt, and then we're going up against people who are like, you know, level 25 or something like that, it feels wrong to do so. And in a way that kind of compromises the enjoyment because you're just getting bunny hopped to Christ and destroyed.
It's a hardcore community, though. It's always kind of been that way. Even back in the days of Quake 3 being the thing, like you would get just creamed all the time.
Well, hopefully they do like a matchmaking system when the game comes out then.
Well, but the problem is even the people that are new to Quake Champions are still not necessarily new.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like hopefully when the game comes out they'll rock it up really quickly.
Yeah, I guess.
The newer people
right.
where they belong, I guess.
I would be surprised if they don't figure that out, yeah. That seems like one of the most important features of getting this game going to a new community.
For sure.
And I hope people don't dismiss it as just being Overwatch, because I think to do that is to kind of ignore that this is kind of where online deathmatch started, in a way.
I mean, like, the game that I actually feel like I can compare it to the most is Lawbreakers. Like, it feels like a faster Space Marine or Lawbreakers. I would go, I mean, we played it, like, last year at PAX, and it was still in, like, pre-alpha or something, but I was like,
Talking about Lawbreakers?
Yeah.
We saw it at E3.
Oh, yeah, E3, that's right, yeah. I was like, Quake Champions is like it's got more character than the Lawbreakers, I think.
Lawbreakers is going to be back this E3. I got the invite. I'm like, won't be there.
I kind of want that game to be good, but when we played it, I was like, this is wicked generic.
Yeah. That's. I think we both walked away saying the same thing. I was like, wow, that was a brown shooter.
Yeah, it's not brown though. It's silver.
Silver shooter.
It's like the most silvery shooter.
I really like silvery stuff. Maybe I should check it out.
I don't know why when you say Lawbringers, I can't, or
Lawbreakers.
Lawbreakers. I can't not think of I think it's Doorbusters, that top-down game where
Door Kickers.
Door Kickers. That's the one. Yeah.
Doorbusters is the sale they do at Sears to get you to come out early in the morning.
All right, now we've gone full circle with this thing. Good. Okay. So yeah, there we go. There's Quake Champions, currently in the open-closed beta. You can go to...
You know, I made that up. I don't know if they're calling it that, but...
It's closed beta. They're calling it closed beta. Yeah. You can go to quake.bethesda.net if you're interested in playing the closed beta yourself. There we go.
I'll probably buy it.
Yeah?
I don't think I want to do the, like, I just want one hero thing. I think I'll just probably buy it.
Yeah, right on.
I'm kind of torn, because I think, like, I'd just be Quake Man for the length of time that I'm going to play that game.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm okay just being Quake Man.
Yeah.
Okay. Not to each their own.
Quake Man.
Quake Man. So I'm going to make these next couple real quick, because I know we're going to have a lot to say about Dead Cells, so I'm just going to go real quick past these ones. First up is NBA Playgrounds. It's the new 2-on-2 NBA game from... Who developed this one? This was by Saber Interactive. If you like NBA Jam, you should play that, because this is not as good as that. This is sort of just not a great NBA game at all. I've put a couple hours into it now, played a little bit online as well, and I am not really thrilled with what I've experienced so far.
Yo, Saber Interactive is also working on Quake Champions.
Oh.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Very strange.
That is really weird.
They should stick to that.
They clearly, they've got their priorities somewhere else, and that's very obvious. So NBA Playgrounds, it's 2-on-2.
Wait.
Yo.
Halo also made, Saber Interactive also made Halo the Master Chief Collection, or worked on it.
Oh.
What'd they do?
That's a great question.
What'd they do on it?
What did they do?
They did also work on RIPD, the game.
I know that one.
They did also work on the Battle Los Angeles video game from Konami. Immortalized, of course, in Poison Mushroom episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's coming back, right?
No.
R.I.P.D. You were like a vampire cop or something?
NBA Playgrounds
cop.
is
Jeff
a
Daniels
2v2 basketball action game that... You know, honestly, I don't have a ton to say about it. The fucking theme song sounds like it was written by Aaron Carter. There's no online unless you unlock it. There's no private matches in the online. Apparently they're patching that in, but it's not there right now. Playing it is just clunky, and one thing I in particular hate, I mentioned this to you guys before the show, but the inbounding is ridiculous. It's so stupid. It kills all the momentum of the game, and when you're playing online, it's so systematic that the opponent can just predict exactly when it's going to be passed in and immediately steal the ball from you.
What is inbounding for people that don't speak basketball?
Inbounding is when you, after your opponent scores, you get the ball back and you pass it into your teammate from out of bounds. So you get the ball after they have scored, and you're standing there, and you have to wait. Like, you can't actually control it. You just have to wait until the whistle blows, and then the ball is automatically passed out to your teammate. And it doesn't work, especially not online, because people just fucking steal the ball. How did that not come up? Also, the shooting is dumb. There's no indication of when you're actually supposed to shoot, which is an old trope from like NBA Live 2014 or something, where they had that in an NBA Live game. You had no indication when you're supposed to release the shot. And that's like that's principle number one, I think, for an NBA game, is be aware of when you're supposed to shoot. But anyway, I'm probably getting into the nitty-gritty of this too much. It's suffice to say, this is not a very fun NBA game. So there you go. That's NBA Playgrounds. It's not. I would not recommend it. I'd just go play NBA Jam again. Cool? Cool.
Neat. Need to read.
There we go. That was not Quake Champions, by the way. I know the topic is lying to you, but that was NBA Playgrounds. And now we're going to move on.
Chat was very upset. They didn't know what you were talking about.
I'm very sorry. And then we're going to go back into Bear's VR corner for a few minutes, so everybody put on your goggles and get ready for this. For another round of VR. It's this one is really, really close, I think, actually, to being that magical little morsel that might entice you guys back. This one's called Tethered. Came out a couple months ago, actually. I hadn't even gotten the chance to play it yet, but apparently it's gotten better recently as well. It is a strategy game. Kind of reminds me of, Black and White, that super old God game from, like, 1995 or something like that.
Peter Molyneux before he went bad.
Exactly. Before he Molyneux himself.
Like he
went to the dark side, man. Yeah,
before he started worrying about putting emotion in all of his games.
Mm-hmm. Why are you holding that like it's a fucking Star Trek device? Like
he's getting the codec in his ear from like...
I hear you loud and clear, Bear. Please continue.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Tethered is, first of all, it's a really good-looking VR game, which I have not seen a ton of. The art direction in Tethered is pretty fantastic. They've got these adorable little critters that you're controlling. I think they're... Oh, what are they called? It's going to bother me. I don't remember what they're called. They've got an adorable name, too. Hold on. You control your peeps. That's right. They're called peeps. And they're so cute. They're these little guys... Kind of look like these sort of Lemmings-esque characters that you can assign different roles and kind of build a little community, and you are defending yourself from these little caterpillar monsters that will show up in your world. So it's not that enticing when you just present it that way. It just sort of seems like another God game. But the way that they allow you to utilize the VR controls and like the motion control and your whole body within that space is really interesting for this sort of game, because you do have to like move around and rotate the map and be looking all around, but physically, like yourself walking from point to point or otherwise dragging and rotating things to keep a constant eye on all the different pieces of your little community. So you'll have like your farm over here, you've got your mines and your quarry over here, and then you've got like something else, like you're building a different building on the other side of the map. So you're having to manage these different things all while like kind of moving around and being aware of everything that's going on the map. And then at night, your little peeps will start to come back to town. You'll have to defend yourself against those caterpillar-looking dudes that I mentioned. So it's kind of got like a really cutesy, adorable vibe to it, but it is also pretty intense. Like, especially during the combat, you find yourself having to really quickly move back and forth and manage things and make sure that you're not losing resources in a particular place, or you're not being overwhelmed in an area. It's cool. It's got a good actual sense of gameplay to it, which a lot of these VR games that I've talked about, they really don't have a lot of a lot of depth to them, you know. But I think Tethered is one of the first ones that definitely is game first before it's a VR experience. But they do both well, so I was pretty impressed by it. And yeah, that's it. So there's Tethered. I recommend that one too. It's $24.99.
There haven't been a lot of God games, so this is kind of neat that somebody's still doing one.
And it makes sense with VR, too. Like, it's one of the few genres I think that would really translate well to it, and I think they've done a pretty damn good job here. So there we go. There's Tethered. Another VR recommendation for you if you're interested. And then, real fast as well, Mathas, I want to hear your thoughts on the Sundered beta.
I don't like it.
You don't like it. Tell me why.
It's made up. We still got a couple more months before it's out. Yep. It is the new game coming out by Thunder Lotus, the people who developed Jotun. Mm-hmm. It is a gorgeously animated 2D roguelite Metroidvania-esque game.
It's Metroidvania, yeah.
With the upgrade system that reminds me of like Flint Hook or something that's persistent. But there's problems with it that I just could not really wrap my head around until I started editing the footage and figuring out why I wasn't enjoying the game that much. So it's really pretty. I'm gonna put that out there. Mm-hmm. But the controls, for one, they work fine, but it's very floaty.
Yeah,
everything is incredibly floaty. You feel very light, and it makes for and it feels a little sluggish too. There's a lot of shit happening all the time on screen. It all blends together. Nothing really pops out or is super colorful. And the game likes to throw a lot of enemies at you all at once.
Yeah, tons.
So and there's a lot of stuff in the foreground too that kind of semi-obstructs your view. So a lot of enemies mixed with the foreground. You kind of lose yourself in that. It becomes kind of a problem. You take a lot of damage just because you don't know what's going on and what's about to attack. And one thing that I noticed that was kind of a problem is the hitboxes are kind of off. One specific enemy is like a worm. What he'll do is he'll jump out of the ground, and then he'll go into the ground, and once he enters the ground, lightning will shoot out that can hit you. And something was feeling really weird while I was fighting him, and I scrubbed through, and I sent a screenshot to Bear. When he hits the ground, your character actually gets hit and gets sent back and gets damage done before he finishes going into the ground, before the lightning animation even happens. So you're being hit and taking damage for the lightning attack before you have the visual cue that it's coming. And a lot of little things like that mixed with kind of the muted palette and a lot of just clutter on the screen just makes it feel for a very messy and not coherent gaming experience. That's where I kind of fell on it.
Sure.
I don't know how you feel.
I had a more optimistic view. I actually enjoyed the time I spent with it. I definitely agree with you on a couple of points. First of all, the hit boxes were definitely weird, and I agree with you completely about that particular enemy as well. That one in particular was felt off to me while I was playing. But Nick mentioned this before as well. Those are the sorts of things that they have betas for, so hopefully that's the kind of thing that they're looking to address. I also agree that it is very difficult to parse out elements of the background from interactable objects or even hazardous objects. Early on, you run into these big green spiky bushes that I did not notice it at all. I had no idea. I
never do.
Yeah,
and the enemies can like walk in them.
Yeah.
So you can't hit them because if you touch the plant, it just knocks you back.
Mm-hmm. So that would there's a couple of instances like that in the short time I've spent with it that were a little off-putting as well. I otherwise have basically only good things to say about it, honestly. I will agree that it's floaty as well, but I was able to get used to it. I didn't like consider it just a straight up negative. I just sort of, assume that some games control like this. Like, man, Ryan, if you thought Hollow Knight was floaty, you're gonna feel like you're controlling a fucking cumulonimbus cloud or something in this game, because it is.
I am writing the Nick's Weird Games theme song, so please don't engage me in conversation right now.
Which one did you choose, A or B?
I chose. I think I chose A.
Okay, sweet.
I chose B.
Oh, you chose B. All right.
I chose B.
All right. But yeah, so I do really like the art. It's gorgeous, and I love the art in Jotun as well. It looks incredible, and I by that alone, I almost just want to play it to continue to see the different art pieces and the different set pieces, because man, it is very pleasing to look at. It's fun to play. I am curious actually to see how they expand upon the combat, because it's I feel it's satisfying actually to get into those encounters with a bunch of enemies at the same time and to be able to feel like you've got a semblance of control over it. There are certainly instances where you don't really have as much of an idea of what's going on because there's just so much, because they really do overwhelm you with enemies. That's kind of the point, too. It's like you'll be progressing and then out of nowhere, like this little swarm of creepy crawly critters will show up and kind of overwhelm you, and it's meant to like kind of take you out of it for a second and make you focus on the immediate threat so that you aren't able to proceed. You know, like I think that's by design, but it is also it does have its issues from time to time when there's just a little bit too much going on, or there's just not enough to help you differentiate between different assets. So yeah, I have similar gripes, but I definitely am excited about it still. I want to play more for sure. This is a lot more enjoyable for me than Yotun was as well. I don't know how much of Yotun you played.
I never played Yotun.
Okay,
actually,
but like with Yotun, I kind of had similar feelings about Yotun, even though they're completely different kinds of games. But with Yotun, I was drawn in enough by like the atmosphere and the art and just, you know, the general sense of the game that I played probably like 4 hours, I think, and then I got to the point where I was like, this really isn't that fun anymore. I'm not getting enough enjoyment out of it, and the art is not enough to keep me going. But with this, I genuinely feel like if they've got a good sense of Metroidvania progression, like some, you know, Hollow Knight style unlocks that we're going to get on, which looking at the trailers and stuff, it certainly looks like that's going to be the case. I'm still excited. I'm still optimistic about it. So I guess we're on different sides of the fence, you and I, for this one, but we'll see. We'll see. Sundered's in
I'm
beta.
excited for it. I had a lot of people tell me to play it. I just didn't, if it wasn't ready yet in beta.
Yeah.
And since it's not super far away, I figure I'll just wait for it to come out.
Yeah,
and play it
and that's probably the best route, honestly. It is slated to release in July, so definitely not too long to wait. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to play it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to play it.
I think I'll revisit it come July when it comes out and see if some of my gripes have been addressed, because I do see some potential there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Cool.
Yeah, we'll see.
Dope. All right. Then let's do the big one. Let's talk about Dead Cells. Anybody want to start?
Take it, Ryan.
I think he's still writing.
He's still writing.
What
Nick.
the fuck, man?
You know he's got a job to do.
Dead Cells is the new hotness lately that everybody has gotten on the train of. It is a sort of a fusion of something like Rogue Legacy meets Castlevania Aria of Sorrow meets throw in more game titles that fit. There's like two other ones that I had in my head.
Dark Souls.
Sure.
Yeah, I guess it's got Estus in it. Anyway, you play a little clump of weird cells that like gets inside of this ninja demon body, and then he wants to go fuck up some demons. And in the process of doing so, he earns himself some dead cells that go towards a permanent unlock system. Then each time you die and start over, you end up a little bit closer to being better. Not only because it's experiential learning, but also because you've unlocked new objects that will spawn, as well as new perks and power-ups. It's got a great art style, very responsive controls, fantastic feeling to it, vibe-wise and control-wise. It can be played both fast and slow, meticulously and rushed. Whatever your play style is, there's something for everybody in this one. Yeah. Dead Cells pretty much knocks it out of the park, and it's not even done yet.
Yep. Man, you nailed it, actually. Just you pretty much gave us the back of the box.
Very,
right there.
very good. I know it's in early access. I'm told that there's not a lot of content in the game yet. Like, it's actually pretty short. I haven't gotten to the end personally, but I do hear once you've gotten to the end, you realize there's not much in the game yet.
Uh-huh.
And I hope if that's true, I hope there's more coming, because the gameplay loop is satisfying as hell.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. And I do like I said, that you can feel out your particular play style, and the game works for whatever play style you enjoy playing most.
Mm-hmm.
Did he just read a Steam review? No, just can do that now.
he's had a lot of practice.
I've played a few games by this point.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and echo all that. I've put probably, let's see, I think it's like 4 hours now into Dead Cells, and I'm still just absolutely loving it. It's tough. I don't know how much of a challenge you guys are experiencing with it, but I've not really been able to get very far.
It's super easy. If you're good at video games, it's super easy. No, I'm kidding.
Cool. Yeah.
It's really quite difficult.
Yeah, I have no problems getting through the first boss. Once I'm past the first boss, the game amplifies its difficulty drastically.
Really? Oh boy.
Yeah, there are enemies that'll one or two shot you
Shit.
That's just what they do.
I have to wonder if that's because they're front loading it for the early access point at this point, or if that's how it's intended to be. I know I'm sort of skeptical of this now of games. I know that they have the tendency to rebalance things for full release, but it does seem like you get one-shotted extremely easily in like the area like 4 or 5.
Fog Fjord and Deep Prison.
And God forbid you run into an elite when you're not ready.
Avoid.
Oh,
Run.
God,
Like, you can't even outrun them. They'll teleport to you and
chase
kill
you down, yeah.
Which is kind of exciting, but it's also a little frustrating. Like, the game's not perfect, but it's real close. And if they can finish out this last little bit and make it as balanced as it needs to be, I think you're looking at, like, probably one of my favorite randomly generated action games. And there aren't a lot of those at this point that are even worth talking about. This is like a natural extension of, like, what if Rogue Legacy had a badass art style?
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is kind of that. And all the weapons feel really cool, and the movement feels really good.
Except for the whip. Fuck the whip. It's useless.
What?
No, the whip's actually my favorite item.
Dead wrong.
It's awful.
No, you're full of it.
Are you talking about the electric whip or the regular
Any
whip?
whip.
The electric whip.
No, the electric whip is good. The regular whip is bad.
Okay.
You're
the electric whip is great.
You're crazy.
I agree with you. The regular whip is trash garbage.
The whip gets rid of all those fucking annoying flyers that you can't aim at properly.
Or you use knives for that.
Or just have the secondary be throwing knives.
Oh, yeah, if you get that, I mean, sure.
Auto attacks.
Couple little points of criticism. The one thing that gets me the most right now is the fidgetiness of going over and under platforms with ladders near them or chains. A lot of times I'll want to drop down and attack, but the character will think I want to grab onto something. And in the process of those animations going for just slightly too long, you'll end up with 2 or 3 enemies all hitting you at the same time, which kind of causes a chain reaction. You want to avoid those types of moments, anything that makes you feel out of control. And for the most part, the game does a great job of that when you're on flat land. But there are some platforming elements to it as well. They're not super severe, but there are a couple of tiles that I've seen generate where you'll get like this, almost like a little spike maze you've got to run through. Or those extremely hard ground ruins that put you in a secret area that you basically just die.
Yeah.
There is like, you have 120 seconds to kill every enemy and not be hit. And
I've only been able to beat that once. That's it.
Yeah, it's
I think you shouldn't keep the damage that you take during the secret areas in your actual run.
I'm kind of
the curses are rough, man.
I got a double stacked curse I think it was even just yesterday.
From like the cursed chests and stuff.
Yeah, I had to kill 20 consecutive enemies.
I got 40.
Yeah.
Oh god, awful. The cursed chest has yet to be valuable enough to really be worth it. I will say the key, I think the number one tip I would give people who are going into this is really get used to using your 2 sub weapons often.
Yes.
Just use your L trigger and R trigger. It took me a little bit to realize, like,
Risk of Rain style, dude. You just, all day, just spam them.
Just throw them around. It doesn't fucking matter. Get, like, the turret, which is great, and, like, the little biters. Those 2 will just tear up in a room by themselves. You can kind of stand away. And just
that was the other reference I wanted to make was Risk of Rain combined with Rogue Legacy with a little bit of, like, Aria of Sorrow. It's got that vibe of all 3 of those things fused together.
We talk about that Rogue Legacy system a lot, but there's not really a lot of games that have implemented it, like, as fully and well, I think, as Dead Cells has here.
They used the emphasis on fun progression instead of punishing progression. So putting this versus Strafe, it's like the complete 2 diametrical opposites, right? Like, Strafe only wants you to suffer, and Dead Cells wants you to make some slight progression while still feeling like you did a good job, even though it's still punishing and difficult. And I mean, it's such a testament to how easy and frictionless the loop is. I was just testing my stream the other day just to see if everything was streaming properly. I just went for 1 run, and all of a sudden an hour went by. I didn't even have any idea that I was playing it for that long. I must have done 10 runs.
Yeah.
Just end it, start it, go, and then you're just back in the game again.
Yeah, and you're right in that the loop is so fluid and, like, there's no downtime whatsoever. It's just like, all right, here we go. You're in it again.
Yeah.
It's like the way that Battlegrounds is working now. That's why people are so into it. Is just because you die, you queue, you're good, you're going. Like,
that's my biggest criticism of Battlegrounds is that when you die, you've got to wait 40 minutes to play again.
What? No, the insta queue.
Oh, I'm not aware of that. Okay. Yeah, but when you play with a team, you got to wait for your teammates to die. But anyway, this isn't about that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was maybe a poor comparison, but anyway. I love it. It's the controls are like you said, Nick, it takes a little bit of getting used to with the nuance of, you know, like going up and down platforms and climbing and jumping through platforms in particular. But beyond that, I actually feel like it's really satisfying to move around and attack and to use all the different skills. And I also really like that they're a little bit more forgiving with the platforming, it seems. The hitboxes on the spikes are not nearly as bad as I thought they were going to be when I first saw them, and it's much easier than I expected it to be to navigate through those really perilous looking areas. So I was really pleased by that too, because it could have easily been like just 2D platforming hell, but with a great combat game mixed into it. But it's not that. It is just, you know, sort of semi-difficult platforming challenges mixed in with that action that is really the focal point.
My first impression when I booted up the game for the very first time was, okay, you have a double jump, but why is it the shortest double jump in the history of any game ever?
Yeah.
Until I realized it's not really that it's meant to be a double jump. It's more like a continuation of a platform that isn't there.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't make any sense, what I mean is when you're jumping over spikes, sometimes you just didn't make enough horizontal distance, and that jump gets you out of that jam.
Yeah.
It's reasonably forgiving, and it actually feels quite good. You can even get runes that'll augment it, so you can get up to 4 jumps or maybe even more than that. Not that that's hugely helpful, but there are actually some hidden stuff, some hidden items that require you to have a higher jump height. But the game isn't largely super exploration heavy. I think it's more combat driven than anything.
For sure.
There are moments of exploration, and there's some moments of cleverly hidden secrets, which is kind of cool considering it's a randomly generated game, that there's still secrets worth exploring for. But largely it's about the flow of combat and whether or not you want to rush to try and make it to the doors that close. It's got a little bit of an Isaac-y thing in that too, right? Like you get bonuses. There's some risk reward of like, do I want to explore the floor, get as many strength upgrades as possible, and risk missing the second world's doors being closed? Or do I want to just rush it and try and get those and hope I get something along the way? And plus it's got Metroidvania elements too, where after you beat certain bosses, you get permanent runes that allow you to then get to places you could never have gotten to early in the game. So even though you're making progress with respect to your distance, like overall trajectory, the game actually changes slightly in the interim for the short-term gameplay as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know you're still bobbing your head over there to the rhythm, Ryan, but I do want to hear your thoughts on it if you got a little bit more.
Oh, I'm done.
You're good?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Awesome.
And the Dead Cells is excellent, and I would go so far as to say that as far as roguelites go, it has like the best combat of any of them. Like abstracting a little bit from that, I think it and Enter the Gungeon are like the only 2 games where the combat itself is actually enjoyable in a vacuum. Like there's actual you know, there's pace and fluidity to it that doesn't exist in something like Isaac, or, you know, even Rogue Legacy was very floaty, I guess. I use that as a kind of a catch-all term, but like the combat...
disconnected from the player.
Yes. The combat is actually fun, and that keeps it going because it really feels like it's a good 2D character action game, and then the roguelite stuff is just sort of wrapped around it. Instead of it being like the entire reason that this exists despite having shitty combat is because it's different every time. So it definitely feels like they built the game, you know, from the inside out, and it's actually worked for them really well.
Yeah, agree with that for sure. There we go. Anybody else got anything more to compliment it on? I think we've covered all the bases.
The weapons are meaningfully different and all somewhat enjoyable in their own way.
Yeah,
they also synergize in ways you wouldn't expect to. There's situations where you can like do a drop in because you got like a ground pound, right? And that'll stun stuff, and then you can also use a freeze right after that. Maybe throw a couple of blood knives to get them to bleed, and then finish them off with the flame sword. And that's like, all of those things happen in the space of 1 instant.
Yeah.
But it all feels fantastically like locked together, like it's intended to be that way.
You feel completely in control of those actions as well. Yeah. It's not like it's just happening to you. You're doing it.
And each weapon has like a randomly determined benefit or whatever that goes along with it as well. I had a really fun run where I picked up swords that gave me double damage, but I took double the damage.
Ooh.
And then I got an amulet that said enemies take as much damage as you do. So it was a really good combo of like, I take double damage, but if I get hit, everything around me is going to die.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Awesome. Well, there we go. It's Dead Cells.
More content. Give us more.
Yeah, keep loading in content.
I'll go ahead and just read this out for those of you curious as well. It is in early access. Just entered early access last week, so it is just now starting out. But they're planning to have it in early access for about 8 to 12 months. And well, yeah, that's just about it. Right now, it looks like they've got about 16 to 20 hours of content for its current state, but they're looking to improve upon that, obviously.
Well, if you suck ass, you might be able to get an extra 5 hours, so I recommend being bad at first.
I think like the 3 hours I've got so far basically encapsulate 0% progression, so yeah, I'm starting to feel that way too. There we go, Dead Cells. It's in early access, available right now for $16.99, which is an interesting price.
Especially when Strafe is 20. Sorry, Strafe, I wanted to like you.
Yeah. All right. That is everything, isn't it? Besides our favorite segments, of course. I don't think I missed anything. Looks like we're good. Cool. Well, that will bring us into everybody's favorite segment. It's Ask Roundtable, the weekly segment where you send your questions in to roundtableyt@gmail.com. We're going to do our best to answer them, and this week's question comes from, let me say this correctly here, Helcius? It's the only way I can think to say it. Helcius. Helcius asks us, what are your opinions on full remakes and remasters versus new IPs? Are the devs wasting time making the same game experience, even if it's improved, instead of making new games with new ideas and mechanics? Examples being the remastered Crash Bandicoot trilogy, the new Devil May Cry, etc., things like that. And they also have a Nixword Games theme recommendation. Looking for any Sublime song. I gave Ryan the choice between a couple earlier. Well, I'll keep it a nice surprise for y'all in a few minutes here. But for now, let's focus on the question from Helcius. He asks, what are your opinions on full remakes and remasters versus new IPs? Anybody? Anybody? Go on.
I don't really have an issue with full remakes or remasters, as long as the game, there's like a logical reason behind it, I guess. So, I think remastering or redoing, if it had been good, the Halo series right before the new Halo came out to give like the newer fans check out the new game. Screw it, like the game I just actually did a review on, Full Throttle Remastered, I think was fantastic. I thought it was great. I love the ability to just press a button and go between like the new graphic style and the old graphic style and just see the difference in the upgrades between the two and how far things have come.
Yeah, I love doing that in the Halo remaster as well. The
Halo
original
does the same thing. Yeah. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I guess it just depends on the reason. I have no issue with it.
Yeah.
There is a trend of them being really badly made, though, once they do the remasters. I was thinking specifically of the Silent Hill remasters that came out.
Oh, that was terrible.
That was really bad. So, like, if you don't have your heart in it and you don't really know what you're trying to accomplish in the whole thing, probably do something else. But I don't think anyone would have been upset with a good Silent Hill 2 and 3 remaster. Did it have 4 also? I think it was just 2 and 3. Anyway,
I think it was just 2 and 3.
It depends on the game. It depends on the reasoning. It depends a little bit on the value that you're adding to it. For example, Full Throttle is a pretty old game.
Yeah.
Quite a few people never would have even heard of it had it not been for that. So it's good PR, as well as if the remaster actually turns out good, it's kind of a win-win. But if you remake Bulletstorm and add Duke Nukem to it, like, did we need to do that?
Yeah, what was that's I think a good example of like a bad remaster. Like, what was the point of remastering Bulletstorm for what, 5 years?
What was the point of remastering The Last of Us 2 years after it came out? That one I'm still
PlayStation 4.
To put it on PlayStation 4,
really
yes. But that one I'm still like, okay, that's like my quintessential example of an unnecessary remaster. But generally speaking, I think I'm in favor of them. I think I really enjoy being able to re-experience games that I loved in the past with an updated feel. I'm generally in favor of that. Of course, Master Chief Collection is going to be my go-to example, even though the release of that was totally botched. The game itself still provided me that experience and gave me that little nostalgia bomb with a touch of modernization to spice up the flavor. And then, there's going to be Sonic Mania coming up that I'll more than likely play the hell out of and enjoy, just because it's like, it is the old Sonic games given a modern feel. And, it's also, I'm doubly excited for that one just because they gave, like, the Sonic fans the opportunity to make it, and not necessarily just Sega themselves trying to re-spark the magic. It's the people that have the passion, that really care about it, that are doing
Not
it.
Sega.
Not Sega. Not Sega, no.
They don't have any passion for Sonic.
Yeah, so I'm definitely in the camp of enjoying remasters and kind of wishing for a lot of them, honestly. Like, especially like Final Fantasy VII. I know we're saying that's episodic, which may or may not be a bummer, but I am pumped to play the Final Fantasy VII remake. Like, I'm
no, but you're not.
I am. Don't you dare!
You're telling me you're gonna play 40 hours of Final Fantasy VII remastered.
I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you I'm definitely gonna play it because I want to see what they do with it.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know. You're gonna like buy it and then play like 2 hours.
Wait, I don't get the cynicism for this one in particular. Like, people loved Final Fantasy, and now they get to have their nostalgia realized for them. It's fan service, man.
Nostalgia is like, it's a trickster.
It is. But this time we get to have a second go at nostalgia, right? Like, we get to see what was in our minds and then try and translate it back into reality.
Yeah. But you already know the story of Final Fantasy VII.
Unless they change it.
I've like held the opinion for years that I would love to see a modern version of Final Fantasy VII, even though like I'm pretty sure they're going to change a lot of how the game is played, because they know that nobody wants to play that game from the 90s. Nobody wants to.
I hope they know.
Nobody wants to spend fucking hours getting to the golden saucer. They want to get there soon, you know? Like I'm pretty sure they're aware of the ways that the modern gamer have changed.
They might go, but remember how much they loved watching Knights of the Round on loop because of the loop materia, so we're just going to put the 16-hour Knights of the Round animation in just as a reference. They might say that that's a good thing to leave in. You never know.
I might laugh if they did that, honestly, but no, I am shamelessly in favor, for the most part, for remasters. Although I will say, Parappa the Rapper remastered totally blew. Because they
had no reason to do that.
Yeah, well, they also didn't fix it, which is fucking ridiculous.
So they didn't remaster it. They just ported it.
They pretty much just re-released it, really. Other thoughts?
Last Guardian should get a remaster. I mean, I know that's, like 6 months old, but like it really could have been a lot better, and this is a game that I'm looking forward to actually playing in 10 years when it's good.
They should have just fucking canceled it.
No, they should have cut it in half and made it PS4 Pro exclusive, I guess, because it's the only fucking machine that can handle the damn thing.
Remember, every time it came up, we were like, it's only going to be like a 5-hour experience, and it'll be done.
That's what I wanted, man, and it was fucking 12 of the same shit.
That's what I wanted too.
The thing is, they were screwed in either direction.
About The Last Guardian.
Yeah, we don't have to.
Speaking of, can we talk about No Man's Sky?
Oh, hey, yeah, we haven't gotten to that in a while. What are they up to? Now you got me actually genuinely curious. How's that game doing these days?
Any Hello Games tweets?
No, not
they retweet things every now and again.
All right, well,
they exist again. That's a start.
Yeah, that's good. Anyway, there we go. Helcius, thank you for the question. If you've got a question for us, feel free to send it over to roundtableyt@gmail.com. That'll bring us in everybody's favorite segment after their favorite segment. It's time for Nick's Weird Games.
This is going to be a Nick's Weird Game to the tune of What I Got by Sublime.
Yep.
Can I get... There's two things to keep a note here. One is there's like a 17-second guitar break between the first... Exactly, right. So keep that in mind.
I've that one a few times.
Because I've got like a karaoke backing track here. The other thing is, can I get like the first note? Can I get a bass note, a tracking note? You know, it's early in the morning, something like that.
You just want me to hit you with that right here?
Pretty good.
I want the note. Early in the morning.
Early in the morning.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Then in the chorus, though, it goes higher, so it's going to get lost a little bit. So, okay. Give me a second here. I got the karaoke track in the background. Early in the morning. Okay. I got it.
That's it.
Later in the podcast, time for a tonal change. Better make sure to close your chat, because it's time for Nick's Weird Games. Got to find the game that Nick is hinting to you. You can bet your ass that it ain't on the Ouya. I've got a PlayStation. I can be Doom Guy. But I don't know RPGs from 2005. Well, Nick's games, they aren't super hot, so pay attention, son, or your ass will get got. Never is Persona, never Tokiden. If you think it's Jersey Devil, then you better guess again. Take a small example. Here's a tip from me. Wrecking Brain, Full C Pluses that came on PS3. Games are what I got. Some of them are neat, but games from Nick's shelf tend to be sheet. It all comes back to chat, Devil Dice Survivor. Try to guess that, you're bound to get swerved. Nick's games are hard, unless you're quite smart, and you remember Drakengard. Nick's games are pretty weird. I said, remember that. Nick's games are pretty weird. I said, remember that. Okay, that's.
Oh my God, dude! Wow.
As always.
How does it keep getting better?
Because he's getting the time to prep.
He does, yeah. He's taking more and more time out of like the last quarter of the show here.
Production value is just skyrocketing at this point.
Right? It really is.
Thank you, thank you.
All right. Hey, it's Nick's Weird Games, everybody. Every week, Nick's going to get a weird game from his catalog of very many weird games. We're going to try to guess what it is.
I say soon when I run out of games, we just end it with a song.
Just have him do a song. Yeah, sure. That's fine.
I think everybody liked that better. All right, so I got another weird game for you, believe it or not.
Here we go.
This one's pretty easy, though. I think you'll probably end up getting it pretty sure anyway. So I'm going to try and give you very obtuse hints at first, just so it's not a giveaway. So our developer today is Sandlot. And if you've ever heard of them, you might already know the answer.
Yeah, you know what? I'm starting to turn the gears already. Hold on.
All right, turn them away.
Who is it?
Sandlot, like the little baseball kid movie. We're talking about a 360 game. It's actually the third one in the series, but the only one, or the first one to be released in North America. So Japan had it a couple of iterations before we got the very first one. It was released on 360 and later on PlayStation Vita, and it spawned 2 additional sequels from it. What we're talking about today is an action shooter game. Was released in North America in 2007, and then followed up on Vita in 2013. So there's a very big gap between the two. Third-person shooter, kind of focused on huge amounts of weaponry, and
totally
you have to choose my words very carefully here, because if I say even one wrong word, you're going to get it immediately.
Okay,
I'm just going to segue to the game takes place across 53 levels, featuring destructible environments, taking place in such settings as cities and underground caves. There is no penalty for collateral damage.
Red Faction game?
No.
Sounds like it, though.
It's 360. It's the first one we got.
Sounds like Mercenaries.
The game was generally received with middling reviews, but then a few people loved it and thought it was inexplicably fun.
That does sound like Mercenaries.
Yeah. It's not Mercenaries.
Some outlets, however, claim the game pales in comparison to its predecessor, which had a larger range of enemies, missions, and weapons, and a second playable character. Chat certainly knows what it is.
Chat's got it.
Get a little bit more than just this.
I'm trying to find the right words that aren't just dead giveaways.
Is there a proprietary skill, and the skill is also the name of the game?
No.
Is it game name like Takedown or something?
No.
Whiplash.
What are you fighting? I feel like I'm on the right track.
You're fighting a range of things. Aliens, essentially.
Aliens. Okay. Destructible terrain. You said early to mid 2000s, like
2007 in North America.
I feel like I brought this out. I feel like I brought this out of GameStop. Is it Earth Defense Force?
Yeah, it's Earth Defense Force.
You're fighting ants and shit.
Hey! Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you regardless that you didn't get the year.
Isn't that even 20? It's 2017. Yeah, Earth Defense Force 2017.
I saw that and I was like, wait, that's now.
Yeah,
I played that game.
It's time.
That game was actually. I think that game is bad, but I think it's fun. I think it's like a bad.
That sounds like what the reviews say.
There's a version of it on PC now. You know.
When you say
there was like a couple years ago. You're right.
I hear them say it's inexplicably fun, and that makes me think, like, you're playing the game and you're like, wow, I shouldn't be enjoying this, but I definitely am.
That's kind of the sentiment I got from reading the reviews as well.
Yeah.
They felt like they shouldn't be enjoying this, but are anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a mindless shooter with tons of weaponry and silly aliens. I think it takes sort of like a Godzilla approach to things.
The buildings were very 2007 Destructible, where they like weird hunks would just kind of like fall off.
Yeah.
That's not always bad if it's a silly game.
Oh,
it just seems like this was.
It's super silly.
That was very Red Faction too, the way that the buildings would all collapse like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like a lot of people got this one in chat. The first one I see before it scrolled away was CDR Rainbow, so congrats to you.
Nice job.
Well done. Good shit. Well, hey, everybody. You did it again. You made it through.
Fam, we did it.
We set up a gauntlet for you, and you crushed it. Well done. We're so proud of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching the show. Thank you for supporting us. You're doing this goofy little podcast. We appreciate you a lot. We are here live every single Friday from about 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock Pacific here on twitch.tv/Roundtable Podcast. If you ever wanted to watch the show live, that's where you follow, and you get notified when we go live there. You can also follow us on Twitter at RoundtablePC. You can catch the show discussion over on our subreddit, roundtablepodcast.reddit.com. You can, of course, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Leave us a review there as well. It does still help us out a little bit. And, of course, we want to send a big, fat thank you to our Patreon supporters over on patreon.com/roundtable. Thank you very much to Julian Avelsgaard, Jonathan Graham, Scratty119, Ricky Greist, John Kalchik, Thomas Games BR, Jakar Sampson, With a Dance Number, Sihoa, Kolnar, Jamie Tinsley, Joseph Boss, Penn Gillette, Michael Bush Larson, Talks to Wall, TJ Majesty, Chaos, You Know the Rules and So Do I, Theorist, beautiful, Colby Klein, Greenlight, Oren Saltzman, Christopher Flagg, Eric Schooley, Brizzle Brip, Positron, Myth Scarab, Mediocrities, Justin Sommerfett, and Logan Ray. Thank you all very, very much for continuing.
Thank you very much.
To support the show. That means a lot. We are back over 1,000 over there on the Patreon as well, so thank you guys for keeping that up. That means a lot.
Guys.
And that'll do it. I'm actually
Thanks to everybody that subscribed also.
Yeah.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much to all the subscribers
Thank
as well.
you.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting the show that way too. It means a lot. You can watch the VOD here on Twitch if you're a subscriber with the VOD there. You can also watch it for free over on our YouTube channels. That is usually uploaded a couple hours later on my channel, then the next day over on RockLeeSmile and MathasGames as well. And I believe that covers it, doesn't it? And tonight, actually, if you're interested, you can go watch me. I'll be doing a charity live stream over on twitch.tv/PrescriptionPixel. She's raising money for her new Checkpoint video series tying games with mental health. So I'm going to be doing that and hosting that here and on the BaerTaffy channel as well. So if you want to go watch and maybe support that, that'd be cool too. But that'll do it for us today. Thank you very much for being here, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, where's the song, though? He doesn't have the song ready. There it is.
You gotta get the stream
there
deck,
it is.
man.
All right. I got it.